Chapter 1086. The densely packed assassins of the great extinguishing god dynasty rushed over. They were all shrouded in black robes and wielded blood-stained swords. All kinds of glaring killing lights slashed at Lin Tian. At the same time, Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun were shrouded in a terrifying murderous aura. Lin Tiantan smiled. He was still sitting lazily on the big rock. The fingers on his right hand moved slightly. Suddenly, a large amount of sword radiance appeared. With him as the center, the sword radiance slashed in all directions. Puff! 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 Blood exploded. Among the great extinguishing god dynasty's assassins, dozens of them were slashed into pieces on the spot. There are quite a lot of assassins here. Wishing Crocodile sneered at the side. After destroying so many hidden strongholds and using the divine consciousness imprint to provoke us, it would be abnormal if there were not many assassins here. Ling Yun said. Clang! Murderous auras filled the air. The great extinguishing divine dynasty's assassins all had cold expressions on their faces. Even though they saw their own comrades being killed, they did not show any emotion. Only the murderous auras on their bodies became stronger and colder. Among them, a total of 7 First Sky of Nirvana Realm experts closed in on Lin Tiantan. They slashed the blood swords in their hands, sweeping up a large amount of blood blades. All of them were aimed at Lin Tiantan's forehead. Too weak. Not enough. Lin Tiantan's voice was calm. He still did not get up. Beside him, the primitive mountain, the divine weapon bell, and other divine elephants surged out. Puff! 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 The 7 early Nirvana Realm assassins in front of him could not dodge. They were all hit by the intertwined divine elephants and exploded in the air. Only 7 divine souls escaped. They quickly retreated with the blood mist, trying to reform their physical bodies in the distance. Unfortunately, Lin Tian obviously wouldn't give them such a chance. The yin-yang lotus seas phenomenon interweaved and transformed into 7-inch-long lotus swords. All of them were intertwined with the light of yin and yang as they slashed down towards the souls of the 7 of them. Immediately, the sound of sizzling rang out as the 7 people's souls were cut into pieces at the same time. All 7 of them were destroyed. For a moment, the other great extinguishing god dynasty assassins in this place. Their murderous aura also slowed down. 7 Nirvana Realm assassins were easily killed by Lin Tiantan Nirvana Realm expert. TSK, rats? You are too slow. Wishing Crocodile, it flapped the wings on its back. It was like a great monster race divine ability, turning into a destructive wave of killing that flooded forward. Pu. With this strike, hundreds of thousands of god-exterminating Imperial Dynasty's assassins were crushed, their bodies and souls obliterated. Master Ling! Ling Yun laughed. Ling Nirvana Realm Sword God Realm. NN Nirvana God Nirvana Dao Realm Nai NN Realm Nirvana and Ding Sky NN Chi. Lin Tiantan sat on the big rock casually with a faint smile on his face. With a wave of his hand, Ling Tian's sword chi filled the sky. This level of sword light was casually executed by him, but he was at the 2nd level of the rebirth realm now. So casually executed sword lights at this level of cultivation would truly not have the slightest problem to kill people below the rebirth realm, and it was as simple as cutting grass. For a moment, blood sputtered non-stop. Many great extinguishing god dynasty assassins who rushed into the field exploded one after another. Swoosh! 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 At this time, the sound of breaking air rang out again. Outside the field, there were cultivators from all directions. However, they did not enter the field. All of them stopped a few hundred feet away from the field and looked straight into the field. They saw the confrontation in the field. They saw many black-robed figures with penetrating killing intent besieging 2 young men and a crocodile demon. Most of the killing force was concentrated on the young man sitting on the big rock in the field. Therefore, these cultivators' expressions changed. That young man is that Lin Tian? Yes, it's that Lin Tian. His aura is exactly the same as the aura in those divine sense imprints. Those black-robed figures with penetrating killing intent, they're right. They should be from the great extinguishing god dynasty. After this group of people sensed that person's aura, they really came to kill him. So many people. It's the first time I've seen so many great extinguishing god dynasty assassins. There are at least more than 500 people. These cultivators were not from the great extinguishing god dynasty. Most of them had sensed the powerful aura emitted by Lin Tian, and rushed here to see who dared to provoke the great extinguishing god dynasty. At the same time, these cultivators had already guessed that the assassins from the great extinguishing god dynasty would definitely come here after sensing Lin Tian's aura. After all, Lin Tian had done such a thing, so the great extinguishing god dynasty was furious. Since they had sensed Lin Tian's aura, it was impossible for them not to come. However, they did not expect so many experts from the great extinguishing god dynasty to come here. However, in the next moment, these cultivators were shocked again. This was because they saw that in the face of hundreds of powerful assassins from the great extinguishing god dynasty, Lin Tianji was sitting casually on the big rock. His sword light was intertwined with each other, and it was like a rain of swords. Almost none of the assassins from the great extinguishing god dynasty could get close to him. This is that Lin Tian? How could he be so powerful? He seems to be in the Nirvana realm? That crocodile demon and the other young man are his companions? They're so powerful. These cultivators were shocked. Clang! 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 In the rough stone land, the sound of swords humming could be heard. Cold murderous intent swept across the area. The assassins from the great extinguishing god dynasty were all shrouded in black robes. Each of their attacks was ruthless and merciless. Each of them used almost all of their strength in their attacks, causing the space to collapse inch by inch. Lin Tian sat on the big rock. In the face of such a violent attack, he was still expressionless. He did not get up. He just sat there without moving. The divining divine skill was activated. Divining divine elephants intertwined and formed a shield in all directions. Suddenly, blood splattered in all directions. In an instant, more than 50 assassins from the great extinguishing god dynasty died. They all turned into blood mist and floated in the air. He's so powerful. He didn't even move. He's just. Outside the rough stone land, the cultivators were shocked. Someone trembled. The assassins from the great extinguishing god dynasty are no match for him at all. Looking at Lin Tian in the rough stone land, the cultivators outside the rough stone land were shocked. Boom! At this moment, a violent wind suddenly blew in the rough stone land. Two gray-robed figures suddenly appeared in the rough stone land. For a moment, the temperature in the air began to drop. Moreover, a faint emperor's aura spread in all directions. Suddenly, everyone inside and outside the rough stone land changed color. Emperor's aura? Emperor? No, it's not a real emperor, it's a half-step emperor. Many cultivators were shocked. This is also from the great extinguishing god dynasty. There's a half-step emperor in this lineage? Some cultivators were shocked. At the same time, in the rough stone land, hundreds of assassins from the great extinguishing god dynasty stopped. Elders. Everyone saluted the two gray-robed old men. Lin Tian looked at the two gray-robed old men who suddenly appeared. Naturally, he could clearly feel the faint emperor pressure exuding from them. He recognized these two people. They were the two half-step emperors who tried to kill him in the 8th heaven not long ago with the Dao Rune seal. However, at this time, he still didn't show the slightest intention of getting up. The two of you chased me from the 9th heaven to the 8th heaven to kill me. After failing, you came back from the 8th heaven to the 9th heaven. Do you feel tired? He smiled faintly. His voice was very calm, but it was mixed with a strong sense of ridicule. Such an attitude made the eyes of the assassins from the great extinguishing god dynasty in the rough stone land even colder. The other cultivators outside the rough stone land were all shocked. Facing two half-step emperors, Lin Tian actually had such an attitude. The two gray-robed old men in the rough stone land stared at Lin Tian mercilessly like two peerless sharp blades. In the eighth heaven, the two half-step emperors joined forces to seal the area, but Lin Tian still managed to escape, which made them feel very ashamed. Now, Lin Tian said with a smile, "The two of you came from the ninth heaven to the eighth heaven, and from the eighth heaven back to the ninth heaven. Do you feel tired?" Of course, they could hear the mockery in his words. The killing intent in their hearts became stronger, causing the space around them to distort. "TSK, you're angry out of shame." Whooshing Crocodile looked at the two and said. The eyes of the two gray-robed old men became colder, and the killing intent on their bodies became even stronger. This kind of killing intent was undoubtedly very terrifying, causing everyone's heart to tremble. Lin Tian was in the rough stone land. Most of the killing intent shrouded his body, but his expression still didn't change. Then, in the next moment, he suddenly raised his head and looked at a place further away from the rough stone land. Boom! 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 Powerful chi flashed past like lightning. 7 old men in gray robes charged forward like destructive cannonballs. They landed directly on the ground, causing the ground to break apart. Immediately, cracks spread in all directions. These 7 people, like the 2 gray-robed old men who just appeared, were also surrounded by faint emperor pressure. Seven half-step emperors? They are also from the great extinguishing divine dynasty? It's obvious. This bloodline, this 9 half-step emperors came here? Many cultivators were shocked. As one of the top forces in the 9th heaven, the great extinguishing divine dynasty had always been incomparably mysterious. No one had ever seen this bloodline gather so many powerful assassins together. There were 9 half-step emperors and hundreds of other powerhouses. And all of this was just for a young second-layer Nirvana realm cultivator. A total of 9 half-step emperors. What will happen to that person? It's impossible to stop them. Chapter 1087. Half-step monarchs were only half a step away from the primal chaos emperor realm. They were the strongest under the primal chaos realm. Now, 9 half-step monarchs from the great extinguishing god dynasty had appeared in the ground of rocks, causing the cultivators outside the ground of rocks to tremble. The great extinguishing god dynasty had always been unpredictable. This time, so many experts had appeared in front of everyone. 9 half-step monarchs and hundreds of powerful assassins. Looks like Lin Tian has really infuriated this bloodline. Otherwise, it's impossible for these assassins of this bloodline to appear here and be seen by the world. Nonsense! He had provoked them twice and destroyed 8 hidden strongholds of the great extinguishing god dynasty. If this didn't anger the great extinguishing god dynasty, then something must be wrong. However, this assassin dynasty has so many assassins attacking together. This is probably the first time this has happened, right? Many cultivators trembled. The great extinguishing god dynasty's Tao was killing. Their principle was to assassinate silently. Occasionally, they would show their traces in front of everyone. However, they would never appear in front of so many people. This was because this faction was an assassin organization. They had assassinated too many people over the years. They had many enemies, including many big factions. If too many people appeared together, it would definitely cause a lot of commotion. It was very likely that they would attract many of their enemies. At that time, it would be a very dangerous situation. Even if 9 half-step monarchs were to appear at the same time, it would still cause a lot of trouble. However, even so, this bloodline still did this. 9 half-step emperor ranks and hundreds of powerful assassins forced their way here, appearing in front of everyone. All of this was because they sensed Lin Tian's aura coming from this place. That was all. As such, these cultivators could imagine how much the great extinguishing god dynasty wanted to kill Lin Tian. Within the ground of rocks, Lin Tian sat on a huge rock. At this moment, he finally stood up and faced the 9 half-step monarchs. 9 half-step monarchs. This formation is barely not bad, he said. Facing the 9 half-step monarchs of the great extinguishing god dynasty, He seemed very calm and didn't show any fear. This caused the cultivators outside the ground of rocks to be shocked. Facing 9 half-step monarchs, Lin Tian actually had this kind of attitude. Barely, not bad? Someone was shocked. Why do I feel like he's looking down on the 9 half-step emperors of the myriad extinguishing god dynasty? I have the same feeling. But why? Even though he is very strong, compared to half-step emperors, he is far too lacking. Now that he is facing 9 half-step emperors together, how can he be so calm and collected? How can he face them with such an attitude? Many cultivators were surprised and puzzled. Inside the stone ground, the 9 half-step monarchs of the great extinguishing divine dynasty were all covered in gray robes. Only their cold eyes could be seen. Their eyes were like murderous swords, as if they wanted to pierce through Lin Tian. The emperor aura outside their bodies was even more terrifying. And one of the 9 individuals spoke, his voice extremely cold. Lin Tian stood on the boulder with a calm expression. The great extinguishing divine dynasty has tried to assassinate me a total of 7 times. All 7 times they failed. 6 of them were killed instead, including a half-step emperor. From the 1st heaven to the 8th heaven, there were a total of 8 hidden strongholds. All of them were destroyed by me. Not even a fly could escape from the 8 strongholds. He looked at the 9 individuals and smiled. If I am considered an ant, then isn't the great extinguishing divine dynasty an organization that specializes in producing ants? His expression was calm, and so was his voice. However, the cultivators outside the ground of rocks were shocked again. He killed a half-step emperor of the great extinguishing divine dynasty? Many cultivators were shocked. The great extinguishing divine dynasty had tried to assassinate Lin Tian several times. These cultivators had already guessed that Lin Tian had destroyed 8 hidden strongholds of the great extinguishing divine dynasty. This was because Lin Tian had personally used his divine consciousness imprint. However, these people would never have thought that Lin Tian had actually killed a half-step emperor of the great extinguishing divine dynasty. How is this possible? How can he be a half-step emperor's opponent? It's impossible. Many cultivators were shocked. Even some of the great extinguishing divine dynasty's assassins were shocked. A half-step emperor of their lineage had been killed by Lin Tian before. These ordinary assassins wouldn't know about this. The eyes of the 9 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing divine dynasty turned even colder. Bone-chilling killing intent intertwined and spread out. If you didn't use such a despicable method, how can you be a half-step emperor's opponent? One of them said. It was the great extinguishing divine dynasty's 12th elder. He was also one of the 2 half-step emperors who had failed to kill Lin Tian in the 8th heaven. As soon as this was said, Lin Tian couldn't help but laugh. Behind him, Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun also laughed. Despicable? I really didn't expect to hear this word from the mouth of the great extinguishing god dynasty one day. You rats hide in the dark ditches to launch sneak attacks and assassinate people. That itself is synonymous with inferior. Now you're calling others inferior? Is there something wrong with your brain, old man? Are you mocking others or mocking yourselves? He laughed and said. Hearing this, the great extinguishing divine dynasty's 12th elder's face suddenly sank. The other half-step emperors were also the same. Their great extinguishing divine dynasty's Tao was killing. Although they didn't show themselves in the world, they were still powerful enough to look down on the 10 heaven domains. However, now, Lin Tian actually dared to insult them, calling their great extinguishing divine dynasty the synonym of despicable. With a swoosh, a Wuxian assassin couldn't help but rush towards Lin Tian. He directly used his blood-killing sword, and his killing intent surged. Insulting my great extinguishing divine dynasty. Die! This person shouted. Lin Tian looked at this person and didn't do anything. Only a faint light flashed in his eyes. Scum, get lost. You don't have the right to speak here. Pooh! As soon as his words fell, the Wuxian assassin who rushed out directly exploded. Even his divine soul was shattered, and his body and soul were destroyed. He, who was at the second stage of Nirvana realm, had the strongest reincarnation king body. If he wanted to kill a Wuzhen cultivator, it would be too easy. He looked at the great extinguishing divine dynasty's 12th elder again as if nothing had happened. He continued, "Also, why do you have to avoid the main point and dwell on the trivial? My main point isn't that I killed a half-step emperor, but that your great extinguishing divine dynasty has failed to assassinate me 7 times. It was your 8 hidden strongholds that were destroyed by me. You only brought up the matter of a half-step emperor being killed. Do you think that this matter can be covered up by me using despicable methods, but you can't find an excuse for the other matters? Do you think that mentioning these matters will make your lineage lose face?" His words were calm, but the ridicule in them was very obvious. This caused the great extinguishing divine dynasty's 12th elder's expression to turn even colder. This caused the other 8 half-step emperors' expressions to turn even colder. The hundreds of powerful assassins that came here also had sinister gazes. At the same time, outside the stone ground, a group of cultivators couldn't help but tremble. It was hard to imagine why Lin Tian dared to be so domineering when facing 9 half-step emperors. He actually didn't hold back and humiliated them. Boom! A powerful aura suddenly surged. Within the stone ground, the great extinguishing divine dynasty's 12th elder directly moved and attacked Lin Tian. At the same time, the other 8 half-step emperors also moved at the same time. They all stretched out their hands, and their emperor's aura surged. At the same time, dense Tao patterns appeared in the surrounding space, completely sealing the space in all directions. Lin Tian, Wishing Crocodile, and Ling Yun were all sealed within. Chapter 1088. Dense Tao patterns lingered in the void, sealing the surroundings. Every corner was covered, trapping Lin Tian, Wishing Crocodile, and Ling Yun. At the same time, the 9 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing divine dynasty also moved. Obviously, they didn't want to give Lin Tian any chance of survival. They attacked at the same time, wanting to suppress and kill Lin Tian as soon as possible. "Run! Let me see how you are going to struggle this time," the great extinguishing divine dynasty's 12th elder said coldly and ruthlessly. 3 months ago, in the 8th heaven, he and the 13th elder worked together to lay down a dense Tao pattern, but Lin Tian escaped with the cross-heaven domain teleportation platform. They weren't able to suppress Lin Tian, so they were already vigilant. Therefore, after coming to this place, he and the 13th elder transmitted to the other 7 at the same time. They weren't in a hurry to attack Lin Tian, but secretly laid down a dense Tao pattern. The 9 half-step emperors' strength sealed the surroundings, not wanting any accidents to happen this time. They waited until the Tao pattern was fully laid down before making their move. At the same time, the other 8 half-step emperors' hands stretched out together. All kinds of divine light interweaved, suppressing the surroundings. "It's over!" In the field of rocks, the millions of assassins of the great extinguishing divine dynasty were shrouded in black robes. Their eyes were emotionless. At this moment, they looked at Lin Tian as if they were looking at a corpse. Outside the field of rocks, the cultivators who rushed here from all directions were even more fearful. The 9 half-step emperor's strength was too tyrannical and terrifying. "It's over! It's over!" 9 half-step emperors attacked together and sealed the surroundings with Tao patterns. How could a second-layer Nirvana realm cultivator block it? No matter how monstrous he is, he won't be able to block it. Many cultivators' hearts palpitated. Rolling divine energy swept across the field of rocks. 9 surging emperor auras interweaved together. It was powerful, cold, and terrifying. The surrounding space was completely condensed. "Why aren't you moving? Why don't you struggle? Aren't you very good at escaping? Are you desperate now? Not running anymore?" The 12th elder of the all-extinguishing god dynasty sneered when he saw Lin Tian standing still on the rock. With a rumbling sound, his large hand pressed towards Lin Tian. Its speed was much faster than the other 8 half-step emperor ranks, and the intertwining killing lights were also much stronger than the other 8. It was aimed at Lin Tian's head. Struggle? Escape? Facing the 9 half-step emperors and the cruel and mocking gaze of the great extinguishing divine dynasty's 12th elder, he appeared very calm and didn't move at all. You think too much. Boom! As his words fell, the entire stone ground shook violently in an instant. Dense killing patterns emerged from nothingness. Each strand of killing patterns was like a peerless true dragon. It was as if a slight movement could destroy everything in this world. In that instant, this place swayed, the heavens seemingly about to collapse. Pooh! The great extinguishing divine dynasty's 12th elder's hand that was reaching towards Lin Tian was directly shattered. Blood floated in the air, and it was a ghastly sight. At the same time, the other 8 half-step emperors also suffered a great calamity. Their extended arms were shattered, and they were all sent flying. This is... The great extinguishing divine dynasty's 12th elder's expression changed, and the other 8 half-step emperors' expressions changed as well. Elders! The other hundreds of assassins that had killed their way into the stone ground all had a change in expression. Seeing the 9 half-step emperors of their own lineage had their arms shattered and their bodies sent flying, and seeing the dense killing patterns in the air, they couldn't help but tremble. Boom! The killing patterns filled the air, and the surrounding space was instantly covered by a destructive aura. Tens of thousands of bucket-sized killing lights intertwined, as if they were going to shatter eternity. The terrifying killing intent spread in all directions, and the earth shook. Chi, chi, chi. The dense Tao patterns that the 9 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing divine dynasty secretly laid down were as fragile as paper at this moment. In the blink of an eye, they were shattered by the killing patterns that surged out from the void and scattered like starlight. This is... Killing formation? There's a killing formation here? This aura, this... Outside the stone ground, all the cultivators trembled violently as they stared at the killing patterns in the stone ground. They felt as if their internal organs were spasming, and cold sweat involuntarily appeared on their bodies. At this moment, they felt as if their souls were about to shatter. Rumble! The void shook, and the earth shook. Streaks of killing light surged out, and even the sky darkened. A destructive hurricane swept in all directions. At this moment, the entire stone ground was shrouded in killing intent, and a cold aura that seemed to have come from hell filled all directions. The 9 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing divine dynasty were all shrouded in this killing formation. They were all shocked, and their expressions all changed. At the same time, the other hundreds of assassins of this lineage were even more terrified. Many of them couldn't help but tremble, and were completely stunned by the aura of the killing patterns in all directions. Lin Tian stood on the large stone, and his expression was still calm as he looked at the 9 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing divine dynasty. Do you all think that the divine sense imprints I shot out were purely to provoke you? Do you all think that my aura was exposed because I was careless? He looked at the 9 half-step emperors and said, It has been more than 3 months since I arrived in this heavenly region. I have been preparing for this big gift for your great extinguishing divine dynasty. How should I say this? Your main clan is in this heavenly region. This can be considered as my official greeting to you all after arriving in this heavenly region. As soon as he said this, the 9 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing divine dynasty were all shocked, and their bodies trembled. The 9 half-step emperors were both shocked and angry. You purposely exposed your aura to lure us here? You tricked us, one of them said coldly. Outside the stone ground, the other cultivators were also shocked. These killing patterns were carved by him? He first carved these killing patterns here, then shot out those divine sense imprints to provoke the great extinguishing divine dynasty, igniting and intensifying the anger of this lineage. Then, he purposely exposed his aura to lure the great extinguishing divine dynasty's people here? The divine sense imprints were not purely a provocation, but to lure the great extinguishing divine dynasty's people to this killing formation? This is a trap? He is purposely plotting against the great extinguishing divine dynasty? Outside the stone ground, all the cultivators were shocked. At this moment, after seeing the killing patterns in the stone ground and hearing Lin Tian's words, these people instantly understood everything. Using this, to greet the great extinguishing divine dynasty? This? Someone trembled. Boom! The invisible killing intent intertwined, and the visible killing light vibrated as if it was going to destroy the world. It was so terrifying that it made one's hair stand on end. Lin Tian stood on the big rock and did not move at all. Around him, the killing patterns vibrated automatically, and endless killing light fell. Immediately, blood splattered everywhere, and miserable screams rang out. The ordinary assassins of the great extinguishing divine dynasty exploded one by one. Lin Tian had inscribed 10 eternal slaughter formations with his cultivation at the second level of the rebirth realm within this ground of rocks, and every single one of them had attained 1/10 of the complete eternal slaughter formation. When they were combined together, their destructive killing intent could be said to be world-shocking, and it was utterly impossible for an ordinary person to resist it. It was even to the extent that many people were unable to resist the aura interweaved by these slaughter formations. Puff! 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 Blood kept splattering, and in the blink of an eye, a large area of the ground was dyed red. Damn it! In the stone ground, the 12th elder of the great extinguishing divine dynasty stared at Lin Tian cruelly. His eyes were full of anger, and the emperor's aura outside his body became stronger and surged violently. You lowly worm, how dare you do this? Lin Tian tilted his head and looked at this person. Your great extinguishing divine dynasty has tried every means to kill me. Against you, what do I not dare to do? You've lived for so long, and your brain is filled with shit, right? How can you say such words? You! The great extinguishing divine dynasty's man was speechless, and his face suddenly became incomparably pale. Lin Tian, in front of so many people, said that his brain was filled with shit. I'll kill you! He roared and rushed up directly. Several great Tao laws appeared together, intertwining with a powerful emperor's aura and attacking Lin Tian. In the face of this, Lin Tian's expression remained unchanged. His clothes fluttered as he stood on the big rock like a supreme being of 10,000 worlds. Boom! The dense eternal killing runes vibrated, and the murderous intent in this space suddenly multiplied, as if it was going to destroy the world. It was so terrifying that it made one's hair stand on end. He stared at the great extinguishing divine dynasty's man, raised his right hand, and pointed forward. With a rumble, more than a dozen killing light pillars rushed up, like a dozen killing swords that could slay gods, ruthlessly slashing at the opponent. Not long ago, he became an 8th stage array manipulator, and comprehended 1/10 of the ultimate eternal killing array created by the Array Emperor Heavenly Lord. He had carved a total of 10 of them here, and that aura was really as if it could destroy everything in this world. Boom! Space trembled, shattering into pieces. More than a dozen killing light pillars fell, approaching from different angles, and instantly arrived in front of the great extinguishing divine dynasty's man. The great extinguishing divine dynasty's man roared. Several great Tao laws surged, and he even took out a powerful Dharma treasure. Unfortunately, it was useless. In the face of such a killing light pillar, everything was in vain, and his Dharma treasure was instantly shattered. With a boom, more than a dozen killing lights arrived as expected. Impossible! Pff. Blood splattered, and under the pressure of the killing lights, the great extinguishing divine dynasty's elder was instantly smashed into pieces. The half-step emperor's blood dyed the void red. Elder! How is this possible? Elder is at the half-step emperor realm. Moreover, he used the great Tao laws. How? Inside the ground of haze, many assassins were terrified. Even the other 8 half-step emperor rank experts that came from this bloodline changed their expressions, all of them greatly shocked. At the same time, the other cultivators outside the ground of haze trembled, and their eyes were filled with shock. A half-step emperor was actually slashed into pieces so easily. Many people trembled. Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun stood behind Lin Tian. Although they knew that Lin Tian's killing array was terrifying, seeing the great extinguishing divine dynasty's 12th elder, who was almost at the peak of half-step emperor, being slashed into pieces in the blink of an eye still shocked them. Terrifying! Ling Yun's eyes widened. Damn it! Within the ground of haze, powerful divine energy rushed out, mixed with an even stronger emperor's aura. The great extinguishing divine dynasty's 12th elder's soul floated up, and his flesh, blood, and bones all gathered together, forming a body in the blink of an eye. At this moment, he stared at Lin Tian again, and the anger in his eyes was even more intense. At the same time, there was a trace of fear in his eyes. The killing array here was too terrifying. Lin Tian stood on a huge rock, and looked at this person, the other 8 half-step emperors, and all the great extinguishing divine dynasty's assassins in the ground of haze. You all struggle as much as you want. I will stand here, and I will seriously appreciate it. Boom! As his words fell, the void violently rumbled, and the dense eternal killing patterns moved, crazily devouring the heaven and earth spirit energy, instantly turning this place into a terrifying ancient killing field. Chapter 1089. The wind and clouds changed, and the heavens and earth lost their color. The densely packed eternal killing marks trembled even more intensely after Lin Tian's words. They absorbed the spiritual qi in all directions, erupting with even more terrifying killing intent. There were even tiny black holes that appeared, devouring everything in the surroundings, including the dust, the air, and even light. In an instant, the sky seemed like it was going to collapse. The clouds in the sky were all shaken and scattered in the blink of an eye. Lin Tian stood on the huge rock and looked down indifferently at the 9 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing divine dynasty, as well as the hundreds of assassins. He stood there calmly without any killing intent or coldness. He even had a smile on his face, as if he was the supreme ruler of all time. Facing his gaze and attitude, the 9 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing divine dynasty were all ashen. A second-layer Nirvana realm cultivator was actually looking down at them as if they were clowns. One of them stared at Lin Tian, and his eyes were like bone-piercing blades. He said coldly, "It's just a few killing patterns. Don't be too arrogant. Combine forces and destroy it," another person said. The 9 half-step emperors dodged the eternal killing lights that were slashing towards them while gathering violent divine energy. In response, Lin Tian smiled indifferently. "Don't be too arrogant. Who do you think created this killing formation? With just you guys, you can't destroy it," he said. After speaking, he raised his hand and slowly pressed it down. Instantly, the densely packed eternal killing patterns shook again. Endless killing lights pressed down together, suppressing the surroundings. Chi chi chi. The divine energy around the 9 half-step emperors were all shattered, and they were all sent flying. Pff! One of them had his chest pierced by a killing light. Half of his body instantly exploded, and his flesh was badly mutilated. Impossible! The 9 half-step emperors' expressions changed. They were all half-step emperor rank individuals. Their combined strength was extremely powerful, interweaving with dozens of different great Tao laws. They could practically shatter everything. However, right now, they couldn't shatter the strands of killing patterns in this place. Moreover, all of their divine lights were instantly annihilated, causing them to suffer heavy injuries. Ah! A miserable shriek resounded from not far away. A powerful assassin at the 3rd sky of Nirvana realm was struck by dozens of killing lights, and his body and soul were annihilated on the spot. Pooh! 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 Blood splattered everywhere as the great extinguishing god dynasty's assassins exploded one after another. Their blood dyed the ground red in the blink of an eye. This scene horrified all the cultivators outside the rough stone land. Looking at the dense eternal killing light and the assassins of the great extinguishing divine dynasty, many of them felt their insides turn cold, and they could not help but tremble. At the same time, many of the cultivators involuntarily began retreating. The killing intent of the eternal killing array was simply too terrifying. Even though they were only looking at it from afar, they felt as though their bodies were about to be torn apart. Boom! A rumbling sound rang out. 10,000 streaks of killing light shot out. It was as if a group of great beasts had awoken. The entire great world was trembling. Pooh! 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 Blood splattered everywhere as the great extinguishing divine dynasty's assassins exploded one after another. Their bodies and souls were destroyed. Arg! The miserable shrieks were ear-piercing. In the face of the densely packed eternal killing light, the ordinary assassins of the all-extinguishing god dynasty were simply too weak. Even the half-step to nirvana stage cultivators were like insignificant insects that could not withstand a single blow. At this moment, even the 9 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing divine dynasty were trembling in fear when they were covered by the killing patterns. Let's retreat first. One of them gritted his teeth. The 9 of them could feel the terror of the eternal killing array. They were prepared to join forces to kill Lin Tian after they left the place. However, the 9 of them quickly changed their expressions. With the eternal killing pattern surrounding them, they could not leave the place at all. Damn it! The 9 of them looked terrible. At this moment, the 9 of them naturally knew that the eternal killing array was created by Lin Tian. They did not expect Lin Tian to be able to create such a terrifying eternal killing array. The 9 of them could not break it even when they joined forces. They could not even leave the place. The 12th elder spoke. His eyes were sinister as he stared at Lin Tian viciously. Let's not do anything else. Let's join forces and kill him. The eternal killing patterns here were created by him. As long as we kill him, these eternal killing patterns will naturally shatter immediately. Lin Tian tilted his head and looked at this person. He still had a smile on his face. You guys can't even escape, and you still want to kill me in this eternal killing array? You can't even dream of doing that. As he spoke, he moved his mind slightly. A total of 25 eternal killing lights shot out. Each of the eternal killing lights was at least 3 meters long. They were all aimed at the great extinguishing divine dynasty's 12th elder. You! In an instant, the great extinguishing divine dynasty's 12th elder felt his soul tremble. He roared as he activated his great Tao Law and divine ability secret technique to face the eternal killing lights. At the same time, the other 8 half-step emperors also made their moves. While they were dodging the eternal killing lights, they also attacked the 12th elder's eternal killing lights. However, the eternal killing lights that were aimed at the 12th elder were too fast. These people could not stop them at all. PFFF! Blood splattered. The great extinguishing divine dynasty's 12th elder exploded once again. This person roared. His soul rushed out and quickly reformed his physical body. Although I'm very happy to see you struggling miserably, there are still many spectators outside of this stone ground. Their gazes are all focused on you 9 half-step emperors. They are waiting to see your ending. I have to let them see something interesting quickly. Lin Tian's voice rang out. He looked at the great extinguishing divine dynasty's 12th elder. Therefore, please die first. He had a faint smile on his face. He raised his right hand and faint soul light intertwined. At this moment, he circulated the Divine One Soul technique, causing the 10 eternal killing arrays to boil even more and their power to increase greatly. Dong! The void in all directions shook as if a sacred drum was beaten. Many cultivators couldn't help but tremble in fear. At this moment, the 10 eternal killing arrays were controlled by Lin Tian's intent. All of the eternal killing arrays' killing lights gathered at one point. In the blink of an eye, a 10-zhang long killing sword was formed. It carried the power to destroy heaven and earth and slashed directly at the great extinguishing divine dynasty's 12th elder. The terrifying killing light covered everything. It was so bright that people couldn't even open their eyes. The great extinguishing divine dynasty's 12th elder had yet to reform his physical body. His soul was directly exposed to this killing sword. He immediately felt the threat of death. He couldn't help but tremble violently. He couldn't help but shout, "Stop!" At the same time, the other 8 half-step emperors were shocked. They quickly took action and unleashed their divine lights to help the great extinguishing divine dynasty's 12th elder. Tisk! Lin Tian sneered. The killing sword formed by the eternal killing array's killing power fell mercilessly. Before the other 8 half-step emperors' divine lights could approach, it directly drowned the great extinguishing divine dynasty's 12th elder. No! Stop! PFFF! With a soft sound, the great extinguishing divine dynasty's 12th elder's divine soul was directly crushed. Chapter 1090. The blood floated in the air and was glaring to the eyes, causing everyone inside and outside the ground to change their expressions. A half-step emperor was actually killed just like that. How could this be? The elder was actually... Many of the assassins from the great extinguishing god dynasty were trembling. Even the other 8 half-step emperors were shocked and their eyes were filled with disbelief. Outside the ground, the other cultivators were even more frightened and many of them felt a chill in their bones. Boom! Inside the ground, the eternal killing marks intertwined and the killing light shook the surroundings. It's your turn. Lin Tian stood on the big rock and looked at the other 8 half-step emperors from the great extinguishing god dynasty. His voice was very calm as he said, "All of you will be buried here and none of you will be able to leave." As if responding to his words, with a boom, the eternal killing marks shook and the killing light surged like an ocean. It caused the sky to change color, and all the living beings within 10,000 zhang radius to tremble in fear. Clang! 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 The boundless killing light shook and furiously slashed in all directions. Instantly, the blood exploded and many of the great extinguishing god dynasty assassins were slashed into pieces like bloody fireworks. The killing intent is even stronger. So terrifying. What kind of killing array is this? It actually has such a terrifying killing aura. Could it be an emperor rank killing array? Outside the ground, the cultivators' hearts were palpitating. At this moment, looking from outside the ground, the sky above the ground changed color. Waves of terrifying killing intent fell from that place, causing all the cultivators outside the ground to tremble in fear. Boom! The killing light was vast and mighty, each stronger than the previous one. Lin Tian stood on the big rock and stared at the 8 half-step emperors from the great extinguishing god dynasty who were still alive. With a thought, the boundless killing light slashed towards the 8 half-step emperors. Even though he had only comprehended 1/10 of the eternal killing array, it was already terrifying enough. This was because this was the ultimate killing array created by one of the 9 celestial lords, the Array Emperor. What's more, he had engraved a total of 10 such killing matrices in this place. At this time, he activated them with the Divine One Soul spell, which made the eternal killing runes even stronger. The peerless killing intent seemed to have affected all the Daos in the world, as if it could kill all living things in the universe. Damn it! The expressions of the 8 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing god dynasty changed. The 8 of them quickly gathered together and resisted with all their might. These were 8 half-step emperor rank experts. At this moment, they attacked together. Immediately, the light of divine abilities soared into the heavens. Great Tao laws rolled and intertwined with each other. It could be considered a terrifying attack. However, in the next moment, when the combined attack came into contact with the killing light of the eternal killing formation, it immediately collapsed like a spark. Impossible! The 8 people's expressions changed. One of them gritted his teeth. I don't know why, but my godly power isn't circulating smoothly, and my corporeal body isn't as sensitive as usual. You too? I thought I was the only one like that. Another person revealed a shocked expression. Then, in the blink of an eye, the 8 of them discovered that their godly power wasn't circulating smoothly, and their corporeal bodies were much weaker. As they dodged the terrifying killing light, they looked at Lin Tian, and their expressions became even more unsightly. What else did you do? One of them shouted angrily. Lin Tian smiled faintly. You're about to die, so why ask so many questions? After speaking, his mind moved, and the eternal killing runes became even more terrifying, mercilessly and coldly slashing at the 8 half-step emperors. He engraved 10 1/10 of the eternal killing formations in this place. Then, after activating the 10 killing formations, he secretly crushed the 7 immortal breaking restriction pills that he had refined beforehand. This forbidden pill was a kind of poison. It was colorless and odorless, and it could temporarily annihilate a cultivator's godly power, destroy a cultivator's corporeal body, and freeze a cultivator's divine soul. If a cultivator's cultivation wasn't strong enough, even his life origin would be poisoned. Now, he had crushed 7 immortal breaking forbidden pills in the ground of pure stones. The half-step emperors had inhaled the pill's energy, and they were greatly affected. Previously, he had been able to kill the 12th elder of the great extinguishing divine dynasty so easily because the celestial breaking restriction pill had weakened the 12th elder's divine power, body, and soul. His battle prowess was far from his peak. Moreover, at this moment, due to the hurricane brought by the eternal killing runes, the pill's energy slowly spread to other parts of the ground of pure stones under his secret control. The other ordinary assassins of the great extinguishing divine dynasty also inhaled the colorless and odorless pill's energy. Some of the great Tao realm assassins fell to the ground and couldn't get up, letting out ear-piercing screams. What? Those assassins weren't hit by the eternal killing runes. Why? Outside the ground of pure stones, many cultivators were shocked. The 8 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing divine dynasty were even more furious. They glared at Lin Tian and said, "Little bastard, what have you done?" Lin Tian stood on the big rock and looked down at the 8 of them. He didn't say anything. He raised his right hand slightly. As specks of soul light intertwined, the killing runes shook violently. Boom! The ground of pure stones trembled. Huge cracks spread out in all directions. He had refined 7 immortal breaking forbidden pills and secretly crushed them. At this moment, it affected the people of the great extinguishing divine dynasty. However, he, Wuxing Crocodile, and Ling Yun weren't affected. This was because he had refined the antidote and given it to Wuxing Crocodile and Ling Yun. He had also consumed it himself. Therefore, this kind of pill's energy couldn't affect them now. Ah! Miserable screams were ear-piercing. As the eternal killing runes pressed down, under the influence of the immortal breaking forbidden pills, the assassins of the great extinguishing divine dynasty who were half-step emperors and below were like weeds. They kept exploding and shattering. Blood dyed the surroundings. This made the 8 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing divine dynasty extremely angry. Each of them was filled with dense killing intent. Damn it! The 13th elder of this faction gritted his teeth as if he couldn't wait to eat Lin Tian's flesh alive. Lin Tian's expression was calm. He raised his right hand and pointed at this person. Boom! The eternal killing matrix was in operation. Dozens of killing light pillars soared into the sky, as if they were going to penetrate the dome of heaven. That kind of frightening might was as if a supreme heavenly sovereign had personally arrived. It shocked everyone to the point where they were endlessly terrified, as if they were in hell. The great extinguishing divine dynasty's person was terrified. He tried his best to resist, but because of the immortal breaking forbidden pills, his strength was far from the peak state. He was immediately drowned by the killing runes and was directly smashed into pieces. Blood splattered everywhere. Roar! This person let out an angry roar. His divine soul soared and quickly retreated. Unfortunately, Lin Tian didn't give him a chance to retreat. He stretched out his right hand and clenched it. The surrounding killing runes pressed down on him and crushed his divine soul on the spot. Another half-step emperor was this killing rune, a half-step emperor rank, in this place, is actually like an ant. Outside the stone ground, a group of cultivators were shocked. Inside the stone ground, there were still 7 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing divine dynasty trapped inside. At this moment, their expressions changed again. Lin Tian killed another half-step emperor. TSK, so satisfying. Wuxing Crocodile chuckled. Ling Yun also laughed. Indeed. The man and crocodile stood behind Lin Tian. At this moment, they were completely watching a show. There was no need for them to make a move. Lin Tian looked at the 7 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing divine dynasty who were still alive. His expression was calm. Let's continue. After speaking, his intent moved. The surrounding space shook violently. Dense killing runes condensed and pressed down on another person. This person was the 18th elder of the great extinguishing divine dynasty. Facing this killing rune, he couldn't dodge in time. He could only roar and use all sorts of great Tao laws, divine abilities, and secret techniques to create a defensive light screen. At the same time, the other 6 half-step emperors also made their moves. Each of them attacked with divine abilities and killing techniques to help the 18th elder block this killing rune. Lin Tiantan smiled faintly. The Divine One's soul art circulated even faster. In the blink of an eye, another few hundred killing runes pressed down. PFFF! 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 The 7 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing divine dynasty trembled at the same time. They were all sent flying and coughed out large mouthfuls of blood in the air. At the same time, a 5-zhang long resplendent killing rune had already condensed and was still slashing towards the 18th elder. With a PFFF sound, there was no doubt that this person was shattered. Only a trace of his divine soul escaped in a sorry state. Die! Lin Tiantan's voice resounded. He circulated the Divine One's soul art even more strongly. The soul light in his right hand became even brighter. With this, he guided 10 eternal killing runes. The dense killing runes directly pressed down on the divine soul of this elder of the great extinguishing divine dynasty, instantly enveloping him. No! Stop! PFFF! With a chi sound, this person's divine soul was shattered. Both his body and soul were destroyed. This is the 3rd half-step emperor. The cultivators outside the stone ground were all stunned. All of them were terrified. 9 half-step emperors had surrounded him, but 3 of them were killed in the blink of an eye. They stared at Lin Tiantan. It was hard to imagine that such a young-looking cultivator could be so terrifying. He actually had such a terrifying technique. Killing half-step emperors was like cutting grass and cutting vegetables. Inside the stone ground, the other 6 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing divine dynasty all had ugly expressions. Their eyes were filled with anger. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! A few of them clenched their teeth. The 9 half-step emperors came together, but they never thought that this would be the outcome. Lin Tiantan purposely set up a killing trap here to lure them here. In such a short period of time, he killed 3 of their half-step emperors. Bastard! The 11th elder's eyes were incomparably cold. He took a step forward and used the divine concealment technique. His body and chi instantly disappeared. In an invisible void, he moved towards Lin Tiantan with extreme speed. In an instant, he moved a few hundred zhang in the void. However, almost at the same moment he hid in the void, a blinding killing rune fell from the sky. As if it had clearly captured his trajectory, it pierced through his chest and his body exploded. 11! The other few half-step emperors of the great extinguishing divine dynasty were shocked. Once their great extinguishing god dynasty's divine concealment technique was used, one's figure and aura would be completely hidden. Unless one's cultivation was much higher than the caster, they would not be able to see through it. However, right now, Lin Tian's cultivation was clearly much lower than the half-step emperor rank 11th elder, but he could clearly see every movement of the 11th elder who used this technique. At the same time, outside the stone ground, the older generation cultivators who understood the great extinguishing divine dynasty's divine concealment technique were also shocked. They looked at Lin Tiantan in disbelief. Then they saw that Lin Tiantan's eyes were different from before. There was an additional ring of light. It was demonic and terrifying, as if he could see through everything. Chapter 1091. Everyone was shocked. Looking at Lin Tian's eyes, they felt a chill run down their spines. It was as if everything in their bodies had been seen through. They couldn't help but feel their hearts palpitating. His eyes, what is that? This. Many cultivators trembled. Even the half-step emperors of the great extinguishing divine dynasty couldn't help but reveal a shocked expression. They could clearly feel the evilness in Lin Tian's eyes, and they suddenly felt a chill run down their spines. The great extinguishing divine dynasty's 11th elder roared. At this moment, he quickly reconstructed his body and stared at Lin Tian in shock and anger. Then, he saw Lin Tian's eyes and his expression changed. He even trembled slightly. You boom! The space in all directions shook violently. Boundless killing light filled the area and rumbled. Lin Tian stood on the big rock and looked at this person calmly. He closed his illusionary breaker divine eye and said with a smile, "Continue to struggle." As soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding dense killing lights immediately pressed down on this person. Kung! 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 The sword chimes sounded like a divine sword, shattering the sky. There were still 6 half-step emperors left in the great extinguishing divine dynasty. They immediately dodged and supported their great Tao laws. However, 10 eternal killing arrays that were 1/10 complete were too terrifying. Moreover, they were all affected by the celestial breaking restriction pill, so they couldn't display their true battle prowess. At this moment, they appeared extremely weak. The 11th elder was immediately crushed. Damn it! This person roared and quickly reconstructed his body. Several types of great Tao laws were activated and formed a defensive light screen. However, the killing light in all directions was too tyrannical. It was densely packed and pressed down on him again. With a puff, this person was split into pieces again. His blood dyed the sky red. It's about time. You should die too, Lin Tian said. With a thought, the 10 eternal killing matrices boiled again. All of the killing lights merged together, forming a terrifying killing sword that was 10 feet long. It directly slashed towards the spirit in this person's shattered body, mercilessly slashing down like a sword that could destroy the world. Pooh! With a sizzling sound, the divine soul of the 11th elder of the great extinguishing god dynasty was shattered, and his body and soul were destroyed. Such a scene shocked all the cultivators outside the stone ground, and many of them couldn't help but reveal terrified expressions. The 4th one. Someone shuddered. At this moment, 4 of the 9 half-step emperors from the great extinguishing god dynasty had already been killed by Lin Tian. In the great extinguishing god dynasty, there were still 5 half-step emperors alive. At this moment, their expressions were extremely ugly. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! They gritted their teeth. They were all half-step emperor rank experts and were powerful enough to easily crush Lin Tian. However, they never thought that Lin Tian would actually set up such a terrifying killing formation in this place. Moreover, he used a special method to suppress the circulation of their divine power. At this moment, they couldn't even use half of their strength. They felt extremely sullen. Such an expression, how should I say? Lin Tian had a faint smile on his face and said, "It's very interesting." He had been standing on the big rock since the beginning. At this moment, he circulated the Heavenly One Soul technique even faster, and the omnidirectional killing runes surged. With a rumbling sound, dense killing lights fell from the universe like lightning, shattering and destroying everything. In this stone ground, the assassins of the great extinguishing god dynasty let out miserable cries as they exploded under the killing lights. Most of these assassins were below the Nirvana realm, and they couldn't withstand the eternal killing formation that Lin Tian had set up here. In addition, under the influence of the immortal breaking seal pill, many of them lost their battle strength and couldn't resist. They could only watch the killing lights fall on them. As such, these ordinary assassins were like insects under the destructive waves at this moment. As long as they were hit, they would immediately shatter, and their divine soul and sea of consciousness would be turned into ashes in an instant. Pooh! 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 Blood splattered everywhere, and corpses fell one after another. It was a ghastly sight. An old assassin at the 5th heaven of the Nirvana realm screamed as his physical body was shattered. His divine soul had just rushed up when it was hit by another eternal killing light, and it directly turned into ashes. At the same time, other assassins screamed, and some even began to call for help. They covered their heads and fled in the sky full of killing lights. All of them rushed here with fierce killing intent, but now they are all howling in misery. How dramatic! Whooshing Crocodile clicked his tongue. Ling Yan laughed. It's more interesting to watch like this. Lin Tian's lips curled up slightly. With a thought, the 10 eternal killing formations boiled, and the killing lights became more and more powerful. Pooh! 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 Suddenly, blood splattered everywhere, and the assassins shattered and died one after another. Hundreds of assassins, but only a few dozen were left now. All of them were stained with blood and struggling in a sorry state. This is simply a small hell of death prepared for the great extinguishing god dynasty. Outside the stone ground, some cultivators were horrified. At this time, the group of great extinguishing god dynasty assassins in the stone ground was as fragile as grass. The 5 surviving elders of the great extermination god dynasty had bloodshot eyes. Their faces were filled with extreme shock and anger, and their expressions were extremely ugly. Bastard! One of them gritted his teeth. While dodging the killing lights of the eternal killing formation, he stared at Lin Tian with a face full of killing intent. It was as if he couldn't wait to eat Lin Tian's flesh and blood. Lin Tian tilted his head to look at this person and smiled faintly. He casually waved his right hand, and the dense killing lights directly pressed down on him. You pooh! Blood rolled out like waves, and the dense eternal killing light pressed down, directly splitting this person into pieces. With a whoosh, a soul light rushed out and quickly retreated. Die! Lin Tian spoke. Rumbling, in the sky, a sea of killing lights directly pressed down, covering this person's divine soul on the spot. Immediately after, with a chi sound, this person's divine soul was directly annihilated by the killing lights. Lin Tian tilted his head and looked at the 4 half-step emperors who were still alive. There are still 4 people left. As he spoke, with a thought, the dense killing lights gathered into a wave and pressed down on the nearest half-step emperor. With a caw sound, the space directly collapsed, drowning this half-step emperor on the spot, and exploded into a dazzling blood light. Roar! This person was the 16th elder of the great extinguishing god dynasty. His divine soul let out a loud roar and quickly flew out. However, almost at the same time, Lin Tian raised his hand, and another large wave of killing lights pressed down mercilessly. Stop, pooh! With a crisp sound, this person's divine soul was directly annihilated. There are still 3 people left. Lin Tian looked at the last 3 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing god dynasty who were still alive. With a thought, another large wave of killing lights intertwined and pressed down on the 3 of them. The 3 of them dodged with extreme speed. However, they were still struck by a few killing lights, and streams of blood floated out. Immediately after, in the next moment, this faction's 10th elder suddenly made his move. 2 divine energy killing swords rushed out of his body and flew towards the other 2 half-step emperors, arriving in the blink of an eye. Old 10th, what are you doing? The 2 of them were greatly shocked. At the same time, the crowd of cultivators outside the stone ground changed their expressions. They never would have thought that the 10th elder of the great extinguishing god dynasty would actually wave his blade towards his 2 companions. Lin Tian slightly narrowed his eyes. This scene was indeed somewhat familiar. He vaguely remembered that when the great extinguishing god dynasty assassins came to assassinate him for the 2nd time, they had also waved their blades towards their companions, using the other party's life as a sacrifice for their ultimate killing technique. This faction's 10th elder roared, his eyes intertwined with a dense blood light. If this continues, we will all die. Since that is the case, why don't you all die first and become my strength? You pooh! Pooh! 2 streams of blood mist exploded. The other 2 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing god dynasty didn't have time to defend themselves and were simultaneously chopped into pieces. Moreover, after this, the 2's divine souls were forcefully pulled by a shocking force. Strands of blood-colored patterns covered their divine souls, causing them to temporarily lose the ability to resist. In the blink of an eye, they were pulled to the side of the 10th elder. Old 10th, stop! No! The 2 of them shouted loudly. The 10th elder's eyes were cold. Compared to dying together, it is more valuable to let me devour your strength and kill him. Boom! Suddenly, the sky violently shook. 2 dazzling killing lights descended at the same time. It was so fast that it instantly shattered the divine souls of the 2 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing god dynasty. Chapter 1092. Lin Tian had seen the people of the great extinguishing divine dynasty brandishing their blades at their companions, using their lives to execute a terrifying forbidden technique. Hence, when the 10th elder of the great extinguishing divine dynasty brandished his killing sword at the other 2 half-step emperors, he already knew what the 10th elder was planning. Hence, he had already prepared an extremely powerful killing light at the peak of the killing formation. At the most crucial moment, it directly shattered the divine souls of the 2 half-step emperors, forcefully interrupting the 10th elder's plan. You! The 10th elder of the great extinguishing divine dynasty was both shocked and furious. He was just one step away from absorbing the divine souls of the 2 half-step emperors to strengthen himself. However, at the last moment, the 2's divine souls were directly shattered by Lin Tian. Although you have swallowed their divine souls, you might not be able to escape. However, I do not wish to be involved in this matter. Lin Tian Andao. As his words fell, there was a rumbling sound. The killing formation in this place became even more turbulent, and the killing light became even more violent. Ah! Miserable screams were unceasing. Under the killing light, the ordinary assassins who came here were all blasted into pieces. PFFF! 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 Blood exploded one after another, and it was a ghastly sight. These killing lights were just casually released by the eternal killing formation. However, the destructive power it contained was extremely terrifying, and ordinary people could not withstand it at all. Lin Tian stood on the huge rock, and did not care about the ordinary assassins. His gaze was fixed on the last half-step emperor of the great extinguishing divine dynasty, and his expression was calm. He raised his hand and used the divine one-soul technique to control the 10-directional eternal killing formation, condensing an extremely terrifying killing light, and slashing it towards this person. The 10th elder of the great extinguishing divine dynasty roared angrily, and several types of great Tao laws were unleashed at the same time. Various divine abilities were displayed at the same time, and the sky was filled with killing light as he dodged and blocked. He looked extremely miserable, and a moment later, he was pierced by the eternal killing light a few more times. Can't block it! Outside the ground, the hearts of the cultivators trembled. Everyone stared at the ground where the killing light slashed down one after another, as if it could really destroy everything. The 10th elder of the great extinguishing divine dynasty roared angrily in the ground, and his expression was extremely ugly. Clang! 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 The killing light was like a destructive emperor sword, slashing down. The 10th elder of the great extermination god dynasty resisted with all his might, but he was getting more and more wretched. His injuries were getting more and more serious, and he was bleeding profusely. Ah! Bastard! That person roared. With a boom, the aura on his body suddenly skyrocketed. Streaks of bloody light flashed, appearing cold and berserk. He's burning his source energy? Some cultivators were shocked. Boom! The aura of the 10th elder of the great extinguishing god dynasty grew stronger and stronger. In the blink of an eye, it had reached its peak. For a time, the eternal killing runes in the surroundings became a little chaotic. A strange light flashed through wishing crocodile's eyes. That's quite ruthless. He's burned almost half of his life source. Lin Tian stared at the 10th elder of the all-extinguishing god dynasty, and narrowed his eyes slightly. At this moment, he naturally sensed this. Boom! A tyrannical aura spread out from the 10th elder of the great extinguishing god dynasty, shaking the entire space. You actually forced me to take this step. Damn it, you deserve to die! This person stared at Lin Tian, his eyes filled with malevolence and hatred. Originally, he wanted to devour the divine souls of the 2 half-step emperors to strengthen himself, but Lin Tian forcefully stopped him. Now, he could only burn his source energy to increase his battle strength. He had burned almost half of it. In this way, even if he could survive, he would definitely be half crippled. "I'll kill you!" this person roared, shaking off the eternal killing runes in the surroundings. He took a step forward and directly closed in on Lin Tian. His speed was extremely fast, and his body seemed to be shrouded in a layer of destructive hurricane. Everywhere he passed, the space cracked and shattered. Lin Tian's hands formed a seal and activated the 10 directional eternal killing runes with the Heavenly One Soul technique. An even stronger killing rune pressed down on this person. "Break! Break! Break!" the 10th elder of the Great Extinguishing God dynasty roared. Several types of great Tao Law intertwined around his body, shattering the eternal killing runes that pressed down on him. In the blink of an eye, he was 30 feet away from Lin Tian. His palm was aimed at Lin Tian's head. In an instant, the wind from his palm roared, like a destructive wave being lifted. The momentum was so strong that it was shocking. Lin Tian squinted his eyes and activated the Bai family's great celestial king arcane art. He grabbed the dense killing runes and gathered them in front of his divine shadow. Then, he punched forward. Boom! The two collided, and the space in all directions collapsed. With a crack, the big rock under his feet was directly shattered into ashes. Dozens of cracks appeared on the ground because of it. "Kill!" the 10th elder of the Great Extinguishing God dynasty roared. His eyes were red. He waved his palm again, and several types of great Tao Law pressed down together. "Damn it, this old man is so much stronger now!" Ling Yun gritted his teeth. "Nonsense, no matter what, he has burned almost half of his source energy," Wishing Crocodile said. Lin Tian's expression did not change much. The soul light between his hands became denser. He quickly formed a seal and led more killing runes to press down on him. "Both of you step back," he said to Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun. Then, he took a step forward and walked directly toward the 10th elder of the Great Extinguishing God dynasty. At this time, the 10th elder of the Great Extinguishing God dynasty had burned his source energy. His aura was too strong, and his combat strength had increased by a lot. It was difficult to kill him by relying on the killing formation alone. He had no choice but to act personally and cooperate with the killing formation to kill him. Relatively speaking, his own combat strength was far from comparable to the 10-directional eternal killing formation. However, as the one who carved the formation, he could use the killing light of the eternal killing formation to display other divine powers. It was equivalent to using his divine powers to perform a simple enhancement to the killing light here. In this way, he could maximize the power of the eternal killing formation here. "Kill!" the 10th elder of the Great Extinguishing God dynasty roared. His eyes were red as he held up the saint-slaying sword of the Great Extinguishing God dynasty. The sound of the sword was extremely ear-piercing. With a crack, the endless void collapsed. As the 10th elder of the Great Extinguishing God dynasty had burned his source energy to increase his combat strength, the sword of the 10th elder of the Great Extinguishing God dynasty even overpowered the killing power of the eternal killing formation here, causing the group of cultivators to tremble. Lin Tian's expression was indifferent. He took a step forward and faced the attack head-on. "So what if you've burned your source energy? You're still going to die," he said. With a boom, the golden divine light around his body was vast and mighty. The Sun Heart Sutra was directly activated to the limit. At the same time, he raised his right hand and activated the Ling Tian sword scripture. After the 10 directional eternal killing runes gathered in his body, it was quickly refined by the Sun Heart Sutra. Then, he slashed out with the Ling Tian sword scripture. A 7-foot-long sharp killing sword suddenly shot into the sky. The sword ray was only 7 feet long, but the pressure it emitted was extremely powerful. It was as if it could destroy everything. This is such a sharp sword ray. What kind of sword principle superpower is this?" Many of the cultivators outside the ground were shocked. Almost in the next moment, the 7-foot sword ray collided with the killing runes of the 10th elder of the Great Extinguishing God Dynasty. When the two collided, the killing sword of the 10th elder of the Great Extinguishing God Dynasty shattered with a crack. The 10th elder of the Great Extinguishing God Dynasty was shocked. He had burned half of his source energy, and his combat strength was much stronger than when he was at his peak. He was infinitely close to the Emperor realm. However, under such circumstances, the killing runes that he had used was still shattered by Lin Tian. He could not believe it, and became even more furious. "This is impossible! How can there be such?" Clang! The sound of the sword was ear-piercing. Lin Tian activated the Heavenly One Soul skill and absorbed the dense killing runes. He refined them with the Sun Heart Sutra and slashed out with the Ling Tian Sword scripture. In the blink of an eye, a total of 49 killing swords fell together and pressed down on the 10th elder. This was the combination of the 10 directional eternal killing runes, the Sun Heart Sutra, and the Ling Tian Sword scripture. Its power was extremely strong. The 10th elder of the Great Extinguishing God Dynasty felt a chill run down his spine and quickly retreated. Unfortunately, the speed of the 49 killing runes was too fast. In an instant, they pressed down on him and slashed down. Poof! Blood exploded. The 10th elder of the Great Extinguishing God Dynasty was slashed into pieces on the spot. "Ah!" the 10th elder roared. His divine soul soared and his body reformed. "Pure! Yang Flame!" Lin Tian's voice was heard. He gathered the power of the 10 directional eternal killing runes and used it to activate the pure Yang Flame. Suddenly, a terrifying sea of golden divine fire appeared and enveloped the 10th elder of the Great Extinguishing God Dynasty. "Ah!" The 10th elder of the Great Extinguishing God Dynasty could not help but scream. His divine soul was enveloped by the pure Yang Flame and began to melt. He could not break free. At the same time, the cultivators outside the ground of pure stones recognized the divine fire. They were all shocked. "The legendary pure Yang Flame! He can control such a divine fire?" Some of the older cultivators were shocked. "Ah!" the 10th elder of the Great Extinguishing God Dynasty screamed. He struggled in the golden divine fire, and used all his strength to escape. However, at that moment, Lin Tian closed in on him. He moved his right hand and activated the 4-symbol seal with the power of the 10 directional eternal killing runes. It pressed down on the 10th elder's divine soul. Buzz! The silver Tao diagram of the 4 symbols surged with divine light and covered the 10th elder of the Great Extinguishing God Dynasty. It directly crushed half of his divine soul. The 10th elder screamed. His divine soul was covered in cracks. He retreated in shock and fear. "What can you retreat to? Moreover, aren't you here to kill me?" Lin Tiantan said calmly. His voice was very calm, but the sarcasm was extremely clear. The 10th elder of the Great Extinguishing God Dynasty's divine soul trembled. His expression was extremely ugly. His murderous intent surged like the sea, but he retreated even faster. As he retreated, he used his remaining divine soul to quickly reform his body. Boom! At this moment, the space shook violently, and the dense killing lights all converged towards this place. "You've struggled enough. Die." Lin Tian spoke again. With a boom, he used the Heavenly One Soul spell to gather the killing patterns of the 10 directional eternal killing formation together, forming a single killing sword. With the support of the Sun Heart Sutra and the towering Heaven Sword scripture, the destructive power swept out in all directions, suppressing the heaven and earth. For a moment, even the sky changed color. Facing the sword, the 10th elder of the Great Extinguishing God Dynasty was instantly terrified. He could not help but shout, "Stop!" Clang! The shocking sound of the sword rang and interrupted the 10th elder. The sword that had combined all the power of the 10 directional killing runes pressed down. Poof! With a sizzling sound, the 10th elder of the Great Extinguishing God Dynasty's divine soul was shattered by the sword. Chapter 1093. Genius 1 second. Remember love goes/little? We will provide you with wonderful novels to read. Blood was still floating in the air. Inside and outside the stone ground, all the cultivators trembled violently. 9 half-step emperors, all dead. Someone trembled. Half-step emperors were the strongest existences under the primal chaos realm. However, 9 of them from the great extinguishing god dynasty came here to take Lin Tian's life. Yet they were all killed here in the blink of an eye. Elders? There were still a dozen assassins alive in the stone ground. Their bodies were all stained with blood. At this moment, they were all trembling violently. Their bloodline, 9 elders of the main clan came together, yet they all died in this place. These were 9 half-step emperors. Lin Tian tilted his head and looked at the dozen assassins. His expression was very calm. He took a step forward and appeared in front of one of them. This person was at the 3rd sky of Nirvana realm. He was very powerful. However, when he saw Lin Tian approaching, his eyes immediately revealed a frightened expression. You won! The void buzzed. Lin Tian raised his right hand and slapped down. Because he killed the 10th elder of the great extinguishing god dynasty who had ignited his origin, he had exhausted the power of the 10 eternal killing arrays. At this moment, he could only do it himself. He was now at the 2nd sky of Nirvana realm. However, his physique was extremely powerful, far surpassing experts of the same realm. A casual slap had extremely powerful killing power. PFFF. Blood splattered. The 3rd sky of Nirvana realm assassin from the great extinguishing god dynasty was directly smashed into pieces. Only his divine soul escaped in a panic, fleeing far away in fear. Lin Tian's expression was still calm. He summoned the pure yang flame and directly drowned this person's divine soul. Ah! An ear-piercing scream. In the blink of an eye, this person's divine soul was annihilated in the golden flame that filled the sky. Lin Tian tilted his head and looked at the other 11 assassins who were still alive. He took a step forward and killed them all. Clang! 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 He executed the high heaven sword scripture with his cultivation at the 2nd heaven of Nirvana realm. Densely packed high heaven sword aura appeared like a rain of swords, enveloping the 11 assassins. Love go little say W chew for a moment, blood exploded one after another. Among the 11 people, 9 of the Wuzhen assassins were killed in the blink of an eye. So! The sound of something breaking through the air rang out. The remaining 2 assassins were at the 2nd layer of the Nirvana realm. At this moment, they didn't stop at all and quickly fled into the distance with panic. Lin Tian flipped his right hand and struck out 2 moves of the 3 moves of Lin Tian in a row. In the blink of an eye, he had closed in on the 2 men and pierced through the back of their heads, shattering their heads along with their sea of consciousness and soul. In the blink of an eye, the entire area became silent. Only blood-red and dilapidated earth could be seen. How tyrannical! Ling Yun and Wishing Crocodile strode over from afar. Their eyes were filled with shock and excitement. 9 half-step emperors and hundreds of powerful assassins. It wasn't a waste of time to prepare. The battle situation is pretty good. Wishing Crocodile chuckled. Lin Tian swept his gaze across the field of crude stones before looking at the other cultivators outside the field of crude stones. His gaze was very calm. He didn't have any special intentions and just casually swept his gaze across. However, it still caused the cultivators to be shocked and involuntarily take a step back. In the battle just now, Lin Tian had killed 9 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing god dynasty. Although he mainly relied on the killing array that was carved in advance, it was still terrifying. At this moment, how could these cultivators not be afraid when they met Lin Tian's gaze? Lin Tian retracted his gaze and swept his gaze across the dilapidated area. Immediately after, he called Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun to leave. Immediately, the 2 of them and the crocodile soared into the sky and stepped on the void to leave. Only when the 2 of them and the crocodile were completely gone did the cultivators outside of the area let out a long sigh of relief. 9 half-step emperors and hundreds of powerful assassins were all buried here. This is really, this time, the great extinguishing god dynasty is probably going to cry. Even if they don't cry, they will tremble in anger. After all, 9 half-step emperors were killed in a row. Even a top force like the great extinguishing god dynasty doesn't have many people of this level. Each of them is a core pillar. Many cultivators were shocked. Love go little say W. Choose someone looked in the direction that Lin Tian left and couldn't help but tremble. His eyes were filled with shock. That man is really. Soon after, the news of this place seemed to have grown wings. Some cultivators used their divine consciousness to imprint it. In the blink of an eye, it spread across the entire western region. Then, it spread to the other regions. Not long after, everyone in the 9 heavens knew about it. Instantly, the world was shocked. Too powerful! This is a man who just came up from the lower heaven region. In the younger generation, I'm afraid only the divine sons and divine daughters of the top forces can be his match? There's actually such a powerful person in the lower heaven region. He's a freak. For a moment, every corner of this heaven region was filled with discussions about Lin Tian. Killing 9 half-step emperors and hundreds of powerful assassins from the great extinguishing god dynasty in a single day. This matter was too shocking. Although many people could see that Lin Tian mainly relied on the killing array to win, even so, it still made people's hearts palpitate. After all, it was impossible for an ordinary person to imprint such a terrifying killing array. It was too terrifying. Many cultivators felt a chill down their spines just by seeing those killing arrays and the divine consciousness imprints of others. In the western region, in the vast mountain range, there were many huge palaces, and the void was naturally imprinted with countless formations. Every formation pattern seemed to be interwoven from the long river of time and space, and the natural aura that spread out made the world silent. The eternal killing array is here! In the middle of the mountain range, in the center of a large palace, several pairs of eyes were shining, looking incomparably deep. Bring it over! A cold voice resounded in the palace. In the western region, where black fog and white light intertwined, there were many majestic mountains. Among them were many immortal palaces, each of which was surrounded by the light of Yin and Yang. Heart Sutra of the Sun! It's exactly the same as the aura recorded in the ancestral records of my Yin-Yang sect. It should be owned by my sect. In the center of the palace, a deep and cold voice floated in the sky. In the southern region, above a boundless ocean, a huge island lay horizontally, like an ancient ferocious beast. This was one of the 9 top forces of the 9th heaven region, the Immortal Sword Island. On the island, in a huge stone palace, several hazy figures gathered together. Only the eyes could see them clearly. High Heaven Sword Scripture! The complete Sword Scripture! A deep voice intertwined in the stone palace, intertwining with an unparalleled sword intent, shaking the space. In the northern region, where the heavenly demon divine sect was located, pitch-black demonic fog lingered, and the palaces of the sect were like demon emperors. Pure young flame! With it, my heavenly demon art can be raised to perfection. In the heavenly demon divine sect, on a demonic pond, a tall man stood straight, his eyes full of wildness. At the same time, in an unknown place, in the main sect of the great extinguishing divine dynasty, murderous aura lingered in the sky, terrifying to hear. In the central palace of the great extinguishing divine dynasty, several pairs of eyes were opened, full of killing intent, and terrifying blood light intertwined. 9 half-step emperors! The voice was very cold, full of killing intent, intertwining in the palace. Crack, crack, crack! Because of the murderous aura, cracks appeared in the palace, and the space was constantly distorted. Bastard! Another voice sounded. In the cold voice, there was suppressed anger. In a day, 9 half-step emperors were killed. This kind of loss was too great. Moreover, this matter happened under the eyes of everyone, and now, the news had spread throughout the 9th heaven, causing the great extinguishing divine dynasty's prestige to be greatly damaged, almost becoming a huge joke. This made the few big figures in the main palace of the great extinguishing divine dynasty to be filled with killing intent and anger. At this moment, they wanted to drag Lin Tian out, break his bones, and crush his soul. They really hated Lin Tian. Since the establishment of the great extinguishing divine dynasty, when had such a thing happened? Do we need to report this to the old ancestors? A voice sounded. For a junior who just reached the Nirvana realm, we need to alert the old ancestors. If so, where will our great extinguishing divine dynasty put our face? Another person said coldly. In the main palace, killing intent lingered, chilling to the bone. After a long time, the person in the center opened his mouth and said in a low voice, "Let Lincoln come out of seclusion and bring back his head." For a time, in this palace, the other figure's eyes flickered. The ninth heaven was boiling with excitement. The powerful great extinguishing divine dynasty had 9 half-step emperor experts, and hundreds of powerful assassins killed in a single day. Moreover, it was a group of people who rushed up to the enemy and were killed. It was truly shocking. The most important thing was that the person who killed the 9 half-step emperors was the one who destroyed several strongholds of the great extinguishing divine dynasty a few years ago. Then, he used a special method to imprint his divine sense into the 9th heaven. Many people widened their eyes in shock. A few years ago, this man left his divine sense mark, saying that he would kill his way from the 1st heaven to the 9th heaven step by step. Now, he really did kill his way up. He killed 9 half-step emperors as soon as he came up. This is simply an extremely loud slap in the face. Since the establishment of the great extinguishing divine dynasty, I'm afraid that this is the first time someone has so ruthlessly bullied and humiliated, right? Many cultivators' hearts palpitated. In the vast 9th heaven, in the 4 great domains, every cultivator was shocked. In a flash, a few days had passed. Lin Tian and the others had already left the stone field. At this time, they were walking in a large mountain. The old trees around them were very healthy. "Kid, this greeting is really awesome!" Whooshing Crocodile laughed. In these days, almost every corner of the 9th heaven's cultivation world was discussing the matter of Lin Tianyi killing the 9 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing divine dynasty. The negative comments about the great extinguishing divine dynasty came one after another, which really made it very happy. The 3 months of preparation weren't in vain. There should be some decent results. Lin Tianyi smiled. Then, a faint light intertwined in his eyes. However, this time, we won because we prepared 10 killing formations and the immortal breaking seal pill in advance. If we really fight, we are still too far away from the great extinguishing divine dynasty. We need to improve our strength more. Chapter 1094. Genius remembers love in 1 second divided by little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Lin Tian knew that the all-extinguishing divine dynasty was very powerful. Therefore, although he mocked the all-extinguishing divine dynasty in front of others and did not put them in his eyes at all, he did not underestimate them at all. Instead, he treated them very seriously. After all, this was an inheritance that worshipped killing as its Tao. It was one of the most powerful forces in the 10-direction sky region, and there were several true old emperors in the main clan. To the current him, such an inheritance was simply an overlord of the Desolation era. "Improving my combat power is the most important thing," he said to himself. Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun both nodded. On the path of cultivation, external forces can sometimes help a lot, but in the end, one's own strength is the foundation. Only when one's body is strong can one be truly strong. "Then, what are we going to do now?" Ling Yun asked. Lin Tian thought for a while, looked at his abdomen, and said, "Look for spiritual energy and try to dig out a divine vein as soon as possible." When he got the egg in the 4th heaven, the little guy inside helped him a lot several times. But now, it hasn't been born yet, so he didn't get enough spiritual energy. This made him feel a little sorry for the little guy. Now, he has reached the Nirvana realm and stepped into the 9th heaven. In this vast world, he thought that he should start to find enough spiritual energy for the little rascal to be born. After all, the little rascal must be very uncomfortable to stay in the egg all the time. Hearing Lin Tian's words and seeing Lin Tian's expression, Wishing Crocodile's eyes lit up immediately. It naturally guessed what Lin Tian was thinking, and said, "This is a good idea. As I said before in the 8th heaven, if we really find a divine vein, the little guy in your body will definitely be born, and Lord Crocodile and the little pervert can also step into the Nirvana realm. Moreover, judging from various signs in the past, the origin of the little guy in your body is absolutely extraordinary. Once it is born, its strength will be very terrifying. It should be much stronger than us now." As it spoke, the light in its eyes became even brighter. "When the time comes, this little guy might become an extremely strong protective talisman for us." Lin Tian nodded. Naturally, he had thought of this. However, he only wanted the little one to be born earlier so that she could move freely in this world. "Hey, hey, hey!" Ling Yun looked at Lin Tian, then at Wishing Crocodile, then at Lin Tian. He couldn't help but roll his eyes. "Kid, what is the little guy in your body trying to do? Tell me properly." When he was in the 8th heaven, Wishing Crocodile mentioned the little guy, but he didn't explain it clearly. At that time, he was very puzzled. Now that he heard it for the second time, he was even more puzzled. Naturally, he wanted to figure it out. Faced with Ling Yun's, "I want to know." "Look," Lin Tian did not hesitate and briefly explained the matter of the little guy in the sacred egg beside the source of life. Ling Yun couldn't help but stare. "It sounds like the little guy in your body is really powerful." "Kind of." Lin Tian andao. Before the little guy was born, the aura it exuded could make the Nirvana ghost sage fearful. Moreover, when it was in the heavenly palace of death, it was targeted by the mysterious book of life and death. It was enough to show how extraordinary the little guy was. To be honest, even if someone said that the little guy was the descendant of the true dragon, he would 100% believe it. Then what are we waiting for? Hurry up, use your dragon burial scripture to dig out a flawless divine vein and let this powerful little guy be born. At the same time, Uncle Ling and Rogue Crocodile should also be able to step into the Nirvana realm. It's killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Ling Yun clenched his fists. He already knew that Lin Tian had the dragon burial scripture, so he said excitedly. Lin Tian nodded. As a matter of fact, he had been using the dragon burial scripture to search for divine veins ever since he left the stone ground. However, divine veins were too rare and it was extremely difficult to find one in an ordinary place. "Let's change places," he said. Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun naturally didn't hesitate and immediately followed him to other places. In the next few days, the group walked through many places. Lin Tian found a lot of ordinary Lingjing and immortal Lingjing with the dragon burial scripture. He even dug out a source vein and dozens of immortal veins, but he still couldn't find a divine vein. "Brat Lin, when we destroyed the stronghold of the 8th heaven of the great extinguishing divine dynasty, we got a total of tens of millions of caddies of Lingjing. In addition to the Lingjing and immortal Lingjing we found these days, it should be enough for the little guy to be born, right?" Ling Yun said. Lin Tian shook his head. "Not yet, it's not enough." According to his estimation, although the little guy was about to be born, it should consume at least half of the divine vein's spiritual energy. Tens of millions of caddies of Lingjing was far less than half of the divine vein's spiritual energy. This little guy, it actually consumes so much spiritual energy just to break out of the shell. This is really... Ling Yun rolled his eyes, but at the same time, he was also shocked, because from this point of view, it was enough to set off the amazingness of the little guy. "Okay, let's continue to search," Wishing Crocodile said. Lin Tian ran the dragon burial scripture and stepped between the mountains. The dragon patterns on the soles of his feet spread out in all directions. In this way, another 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. In 3 days, he had found many spiritual crystals and immortal spiritual crystals, but he still couldn't find the divine vein. It was really difficult to find it. After all, the divine vein was not an ordinary thing. It was the strongest amalgamation of spiritual energy under the ancestral dragon vein. Boom! It was also on this day that the western region suddenly shook violently as if a great earthquake had occurred. A pitch-black fog suddenly interweaved and rushed up from the southeast of this large region, causing the clouds in the sky to be completely shattered in an instant. It was as if the door to hell had been opened, and one could faintly hear the mournful howls of ghosts mixed in it. Looking over, in just an instant, the sky of this region was completely dyed black. It was very frightening. This Yin-Chi is a little too dense. What is this? Ling Yun stared. Wishing Crocodile couldn't help but reveal a surprised expression. He raised his head and looked towards the southeast, then his expression was slightly shocked. That seems to be the direction of the Taichu Ridge. Taichu Ridge? Ling Yun was moved. I heard my master mention it before. It seems to be a forbidden area. That's right, it's a forbidden area. Wishing Crocodile nodded and said in a deep voice. That immortal ridge occupies an extremely large area and is filled with danger. Many half-step emperors have died there. Let's go there. Lin Tian suddenly opened his mouth. He stared in that direction with strands of light interweaving in his eyes. Kid, be careful. That place isn't fun. Although the Yin-Chi is ridiculously dense, there might be something extraordinary hidden underground, but that place is too dangerous. We can't take the risk. Furthermore, isn't the most important thing right now to find the divine vein and let the little guy be born quickly? We can't complicate things. Wishing Crocodile felt that Lin Tian's curiosity was aroused by the dense Yin-Chi in the southeast, and he wanted to search for treasures. Lin Tian shook his head and stared at the southeast where the Yin-Chi was surging. There's a divine vein over there. The pitch-black Yin fog rushed up from the southeast as if the gates of hell had been opened. It was extremely horrifying. However, in that instant just now, within the surging Yin fog, he also felt a trace of spirit energy fluctuation. Although it was very weak, it was incomparably pure and vigorous, hundreds of times purer than the spirit energy of the divine vein. Only a divine vein could emit such spirit energy fluctuation. Chapter 1095. Upon hearing Lin Tian's words, Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun were both shocked. There's a holy pulse there? Are you sure? Wishing Crocodile's eyes widened. By the way, how did you know all of a sudden? Within the surging Yin-Chi, there's a fluctuation of spiritual energy at the level of a holy pulse. Lin Tian now. He looked towards the southeast, his eyes shining brightly. Fluctuation of spiritual energy? Wishing Crocodile stared straight at the place where the Yin-Chi was surging in the southeast of the western region. He focused his senses and said, No, why didn't I sense it? Ling Yun stared at the place, paused, and said, This? Master Ling didn't sense any spiritual energy either. I've cultivated the Dragon Burial Scripture and the Illusion Breaker Divine Eye, so I'm 10 times more sensitive to spiritual energy than ordinary people. Lin Tian now. Upon hearing his words, Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun's eyes lit up. Indeed, Lin Tian, who cultivated the Dragon Burial Scripture and the Illusion Breaker Divine Eye, was very sensitive to spiritual energy. He was far more sensitive than other practitioners of the same level. Is there really a holy pulse? Wishing Crocodile spoke again. Even though he knew that Lin Tian's senses couldn't be wrong, he couldn't help but ask. Next to him, Ling Yun also stared straight at Lin Tian. It shouldn't be wrong, Lin Tian said. His current cultivation was at the 2nd level of the Nirvana realm, and he had already mastered the Dragon Burial Scripture. His adaptability to the divine eye of delusion had also increased by a large margin. Once he sensed something, there was almost no error. Upon hearing his words, Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun's eyes lit up again. Let's go! Let's go! Although that lousy place is dangerous, it's worth the risk for a holy pulse. Wishing Crocodile ground his teeth. Ling Yun clenched his fists tightly, his eyes shining like 2 lanterns. Let's go! Let's go now! At this time, a holy vein was of great significance to them. Not only could it allow him and Ling Yun to enter the Nirvana realm and undergo a great transformation, but it could also allow the little guy in the holy egg in Lin Tian's body to be born. And given how extraordinary Little Rascal was, once it was born, its combat prowess would definitely be terrifyingly tyrannical, far surpassing their current strength. At that time, Little Rascal would definitely become a powerful protector for them as they roamed the 9 heavens. Lin Tian nodded. Let's go! He stared at the southeast direction where the Yin energy was rising from, then leaped into the air like a bolt of lightning. Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun didn't hesitate. They followed behind Lin Tian and soared into the air, heading southeast at top speed. They traveled through the void. Not long after, they heard the sound of air being torn apart. Many cultivators were also traveling in that direction. At the same time, the sounds of discussion entered their ears. Are you sure? Is it really an emperor tomb? A cultivator of the older generation said that there was such a record in a certain unofficial history. It was said that there was an emperor who buried himself in the Taichu Immortal Ridge when his lifespan was about to end. Now, with such a shocking amount of Yin Qi rushing up from the Immortal Ridge, it was determined that the record in that unofficial history was true. There was indeed an emperor's tomb there, and due to some unknown reason, this emperor's tomb has cracked open. If that's really the case, then there should be many extremely shocking treasures inside. Nonsense, isn't that what we're going for? However, that Taichu Immortal Ridge is where many half-step emperors have fallen. Are we really going to enter that forbidden area? How can one catch a tiger cub without entering the tiger's den? If you don't want to take the risk, will the treasures obediently jump in front of you? You have to know that this is an emperor tomb. Once we enter, as long as we casually obtain some treasures, it'll be enough for us to run amok. This, enough, don't say any more. Let's hurry! Thousands of feet away, a dozen cultivators traveled together. All of them began to speed up, and soon, they shot out extremely far away. Lin Tian and the others had powerful cultivation bases. They were traveling in the void at a higher altitude, so they naturally heard the voices of these cultivators very clearly. There are such unofficial records? Lin Tian looked at Wishing Crocodile. Beside him, Ling Yun also looked over. He already knew that Wishing Crocodile was very familiar with the 10 Heavens domain. Wishing Crocodile thought for a moment. Oh, I don't know. You don't know? Haven't you read many unofficial history notes and ancient books of cultivation history? Lin Tian was slightly surprised. Wishing Crocodile rolled its eyes. You said it yourself? I've read many, not all. It said. This kind of thing should be recorded in the unofficial history that Lord Crocodile hasn't read. Lin Tian glanced at it and didn't ask anything else. Instead, he increased his speed. After that, a full 10 hours passed quickly. 10 hours later, the two of them and the crocodile finally arrived at the place where the Yin Qi surged. They appeared in front of a vast mountain range. As far as the eye could see, the mountains in front of them were connected to each other. They didn't know how many there were, but they were all red. Some were more than 10,000 feet tall, while some were only about 10 feet tall. The difference in size was huge. This mountain range covered an unknown amount of land. Even a Nirvana realm powerhouse would find it difficult to see the end of the mountain range at a glance. This is the Taichu Immortal Ridge? Lin Tian frowned. At this time, coming in front of this mountain range at such a close distance, he instinctively felt a sense of oppression. The continuous mountain range seemed to be like ferocious beasts of death in the darkness, showing a kind of ferocity that was slightly terrifying. How is it, kid? Do you feel that something is wrong? Wishing Crocodile said. It's full of danger. Lin Tian now. He controlled the dragon burial scripture, cultivated the delusion breaker divine eyes, and stepped into the Nirvana realm. Now that he was standing outside this huge mountain range, with just a glance, he could see that this mountain range was extraordinary. All kinds of chaotic pulse forces were mixed together. It was almost a crisis every 10 steps, and a fatal situation every 100 steps. Ordinary cultivators wouldn't be able to survive if they stepped into it. It's full of danger. Ling Yun rolled his eyes. It sounds so serious. Then, are we going in or not? Of course we're going in. Lin Tian now. As he said that, he didn't hesitate and took the lead to step into the Taichu Immortal Ridge. At this time, a dense crowd of cultivators had already gathered near the Taichu Immortal Ridge. Many powerful cultivators had already set off and stepped into the mountain range. They all heard that the place where the Yinqi surged was an emperor tomb that had opened, and wanted to enter to search for the emperor treasure. However, at this time, most people were still outside the mountain range, carefully looking into the mountain range. After all, although the treasures in the emperor tomb were extremely tempting, this place was the Taichu Immortal Ridge, the most famous forbidden area in the western region. There were dangers everywhere inside, and ordinary people really didn't dare to casually step in. Lin Tian and the others stepped into the Immortal Ridge. They didn't deliberately conceal themselves, so they were immediately seen by many cultivators outside the Immortal Ridge. That's that Lin Tian? Chapter 1096. By now, Lin Tian's reputation had almost spread throughout the ninth heaven, and there weren't many people who didn't know him. At this time, seeing Lin Tian's figure in this place, all the cultivators couldn't help but tremble. This ruthless person actually came here as well. Is he also here for the Emperor's tomb? He's coming! Dodge! Seeing Lin Tian walking over, many cultivators panicked, and many hurriedly dodged to the side, taking the initiative to make a path. What a joke! Some time ago, Lin Tian killed 9 half-step emperors of the myriad extinguishing divine dynasty in one battle. Although everyone knew that it was mainly because of the killing formation carved in advance, they were still very afraid of Lin Tian. After all, how could an ordinary person carve such a terrifying killing formation? How could he have the guts to trick the half-step emperors of the myriad extinguishing divine dynasty? Lin Tian had long been used to this, so he didn't care. He directly stepped into the Taichu Immortal Ridge with Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun. Whoosh! As soon as they entered the Taichu Immortal Ridge, a gust of cold wind blew over, bringing with it a bone-chilling coldness. It suddenly feels like I've walked into the underworld. Ling Yun couldn't help but roll his eyes. As soon as he walked into the Taichu Immortal Ridge, he felt a trace of oppression. Let's go. Lin Tian now. He stared at the place where the Yinqi rushed up in front of the Taichu Immortal Ridge. His pace was neither slow nor hurried, and he moved forward steadily. Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun followed behind him, and they soon walked far away. There were many scarlet mountain ridges in the Taichu Immortal Ridge. They were connected to each other, and the ground was filled with gravel, giving off a very desolate feeling. When one walked on the ground, it would constantly emit a sizzling sound. The group walked forward. Soon, the humidity in the air became much heavier. A black wind suddenly rolled up, bringing pieces of gravel, causing the temperature in the air to drop by dozens of degrees. With a whoosh, the black wind swept over from the front. It gradually became more violent, and a wave of cold air intertwined with each other. There's something inside, Whooshing Crocodile said. Ling Yun nodded. Master Ling felt it too. Lin Tian looked ahead and was the most direct. With a wave of his right hand, a ray of sword light appeared and slashed forward. With a swoosh, the sword light was extremely fast and disappeared into the black wind in the blink of an eye. Ugh! A shrill cry rang out from the black wind. A black shadow flashed out from the black wind like a monkey and fled into the distance. Lin Tian took a step forward. In the blink of an eye, he covered over 100 feet. With a wave of his right hand, the golden sword light appeared once again. It sealed the space around the black shadow and pierced through it, nailing it to the ground along with its body. As far as the eye could see, this was a withered humanoid creature. Its entire body was covered in black hair, and its pupils were pitch black. Dense, bloody, baleful aura interweaved around its body, making it seem like an icy cold spring. It struggled madly on the ground. At the same time, it roared at Lin Tian like a wild beast. Its appearance was ferocious and somewhat horrifying. It didn't die after taking a few hits from you? Whooshing Crocodile moved over, looking a little surprised. Such dense baleful aura. What the hell is this? It's almost comparable to a half-step enlightened realm expert. Ling Yun also walked over. Lin Tian lowered his head to look at the black shadow and said, "It's an evil spirit born from the baleful aura of the earth vein. It's equivalent to a demonic beast." His right hand shook slightly, and another ray of sword light fell. It smashed the black shadow's head into pieces, leaving a pool of black blood on the ground. "Let's go," he said, turned around, and continued to walk into the depths. In this place, the source of the yin qi was in the depths of the Taichu celestial ridge. The spiritual qi of the divine vein level that he felt was also in that place. He had to go there. Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun followed behind him. Not long after, they walked very far, about a few hundred feet. At this point, wisps of hazy mist floated in the air. It seemed a little eerie, and the air became even colder. Ah! Suddenly, a scream came from the hazy mist in front of them. As the black wind blew, the smell of blood floated in the air. A middle-aged man rushed out of the mist. His body was covered in blood, and his eyes were filled with horror. "Help! Help!" The middle-aged man saw Lin Tian and the others and immediately shouted. At the same time, he looked back from time to time, as if there was a terrifying ghost chasing after him. "Help! Help! Puff!" A creepy bone claw suddenly reached out from the hazy mist and pierced through the middle-aged man's chest. Drops of blood dripped down, and the claw grabbed the middle-aged man's heart. Then, it reached back into the mist, and there was a crunching sound. The middle-aged man fell to the ground, his eyes wide open. His life force disappeared completely in the blink of an eye. Crunch! 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 In the mist, the crunching sound was even louder. It was a little creepy, and it made people's scalps go numb. A pair of blood-red eyes lit up in the mist like a ghost's eyes, staring in the direction of Lin Tian and the others. It was as if it had seen its prey, and it flickered with a demonic blood light. Lin Tian didn't have any expression. He directly raised his hand, and a sharp sword light slashed forward with a thunderous momentum. "Ah!" A resentful scream came from the mist. The blood-red eyes disappeared in the blink of an eye, and the aura of death floated in the air. "This thing seems to be much stronger than the evil spirit just now. Is it also an evil spirit born from the baleful aura of the earth vein?" Ling Yun said. "We haven't stepped into the Taichu Immortal Ridge for long, and there's actually an evil creature of this level. Otherwise, why would it be called a forbidden area?" Wishing Crocodile said. Lin Tian didn't care about this at all. He continued to walk forward, and in the blink of an eye, he had walked thousands of feet away. At this time, a vast lake appeared in front of them. The lake water was dark silver, and there were strands of dreamy luster intertwined on the surface of the lake. Faint multicolored mist rose from the lake, as if a treasure pool had fallen from the immortal world. "This pool is not ordinary. It's much more amazing than the celestial pool in the God Burial Mountain range in the third heaven," Ling Yun said. "Indeed." Lin Tian now. Back in the third heaven, he had gone to the God Burial Mountain range with Ling Yun. There, he had encountered a similar pool, which contained many treasures. However, the celestial pool there was far smaller than the one here. He stared ahead. At this time, many cultivators had already gathered around the pool. The weakest among them was at the half-stepped Great Tao realm. They were all seriously searching for something on the surface of the lake. Many of them had found good treasures. "You two brats, don't miss this opportunity," Wishing Crocodile said and rushed over. With a sweep of his demonic power, he grabbed a fist-sized piece of bronze from the lake. "Exquisite magnetic bronze, an immortal material for forging quasi-holy weapons." Ling Yun's eyes lit up, and he also rushed over. He even cast a treasure net and sprinkled it on the big lake. Lin Tian stepped forward, but he was quite speechless about Ling Yun's action. He was too lazy to say anything. The dragon pattern on the soles of his feet extended, and in the blink of an eye, he grabbed a huge piece of Ling Jing, about 200 jin. This is 2,000,000 gene of ordinary Ling Jing. It's really convenient to control the dragon burial scripture. Ling Yun stared at him. Little pervert, give me your net, Grandpa Crocodile will use it. Catch. So easy? I still have some here. By the way, Brat Lin, do you want it? Lin Tian said. No need. Little pervert, work hard. Crocodile, come on. Try to catch a quasi-heavenly treasure. Even if it's a heavenly treasure fragment, it's still a big profit. One man and one crocodile each held a treasure net, and for a moment, huge waves rolled up on the big lake. This movement was not small, and it attracted the other cultivators nearby to look in this direction with cold faces. Be quiet! You want to die. A Wuxian-level cultivator looked in this direction and said coldly, but in the blink of an eye, he stopped talking. When he saw Lin Tian standing together with Wuxian Crocodile and Ling Yun, his strong physique could not help but tremble. At the same time, the other cultivators who were looking in this direction with cold faces also saw Lin Tian, and they all trembled slightly. Ling Yun tilted his head and looked at the Wuxian-level cultivator who spoke, and said, Did you want to say anything to us just now? No. No! This person hurriedly waved his hand and looked at Lin Tian, who was beside Ling Yun, in a panic. He quickly retreated, and his heart could not help but turn cold. This Lin Tian was a ruthless person who killed 9 half-step emperors of the Wanmi God dynasty in a day. Just now, he actually shouted at Lin Tian's friend coldly and almost said the 3 words. Do you want to die? At the same time, the other cultivators at the side also stared at Lin Tian. They could not help but distance themselves from Lin Tian, afraid that they would offend Lin Tian. Brat, your ferocity is enough to intimidate most of the cultivators in this region. TSK, not bad. Ling Yun laughed loudly. Lin Tian glanced at him and was too lazy to say anything. He did not care about the other people's reactions. The dragon pattern on the soles of his feet spread out, and not long after, he grabbed a huge piece of immortal Ling Jing, which was about 150 kilograms. Damn, it's another one. 5,000,000 kilograms of normal Ling Jing. Master Ling has to put in more effort. Ling Yun gritted his teeth and used his divine power to expand the treasure net in his hand and spread it towards the large lake. The Wuxian Crocodile also held the large net and used its demonic power to control it. It covered a large area of the large lake and searched for treasures. Just like that, an hour passed in the blink of an eye. At this time, as the dragon pattern on the soles of his feet spread, Lin Tian suddenly raised his head and saw a glimmer of light at the bottom of the large lake more than 1,000 feet away. There was an extremely shocking amount of Tao power intertwining and circling around it. His expression changed slightly, and he directly raised his hand to form a divine light hand seal. He grabbed the glimmer of light and a piece of silt from the bottom of the large lake. He shook the mud away, and only then did he realize that the thing that was emitting a faint light was a piece of broken green jade. The material looked very ordinary, but the Tao power that was wrapped around it was very dense. Moreover, there was an extremely dense and vast aura. This is Emperor Qi. Chapter 1097. The green jade was only the size of a baby's palm, and its color was slightly dull. However, there was an extremely powerful Tao power and an incomparably vast Emperor Qi intertwined on it, causing this originally very ordinary green jade to instantly become as attractive as a heavenly treasure. After all, anything entwined with Emperor Qi, no matter how ordinary it was, would become extraordinary because of this. Kid Lin, what's wrong? Wuxian Crocodile saw Lin Tian's strange behavior, and immediately came over. Next to him, Ling Yun dragged the treasure net, and also came over. Lin Tian stretched out his hand and motioned for Wuxian Crocodile, and Ling Yun to look at the green jade in his hand carefully. Then, both of them were shocked. In essence, this is not a magical treasure fragment. However, there is such a strong Tao power and Emperor Qi entwined on it. This means that this thing has been worn by an emperor-level figure for a long time and cherished very much, Wuxian Crocodile said. Lin Tian nodded. Wishing Crocodile had the same thoughts as him. This, if it's very precious, how did it end up in this place? Ling Yun was curious. Who knows? There must be some irresistible reason, Wishing Crocodile said. Lin Tian did not think too much about it. With a slight wave of his right hand, he put the green jade into the stone ring. Although this was just an ordinary green jade fragment, and could not be used as a magical treasure in battle, it was still entwined with Emperor Qi. Perhaps it could be used in other ways in the future. When the 5 Elements Crocodile and Ling Yun saw him keep the green jade, they immediately focused their attention on the big lake in this place. The 2 treasure nets spread out and swept up the treasures from the bottom of the lake. In the blink of an eye, another quarter of an hour passed. It's about time to go, Lin Tian called out to the man and Crocodile. Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun had already found many good things. Although they were not amazing treasures, they were still valuable. At this time, when they heard Lin Tian's words, they immediately nodded and walked out of the lake. Lin Tian walked at the front of the group. Soon, they walked out of the lake and headed towards the source of the yin qi. Speaking of which, Brat, can you still feel the spirit qi fluctuation of the divine vein level that you mentioned before? Wishing Crocodile asked in a low voice. Lin Tian gazed at the depths of the Taichu Immortal Ridge, where the yin qi had surged, and shook his head. That kind of spiritual qi was mixed in with the first burst of yin qi. After that, no new burst of yin qi rushed out, so I can no longer sense the spiritual qi fluctuations from that time. However, the reaction at that time was not wrong, he said. This made Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun's eyes move slightly. In other words, the divine vein you mentioned might be underground where the yin qi surges, in the so-called Emperor Tomb? Ling Yun said. Lin Tian nodded. The possibility is very high. He stared at the depths of the Immortal Ridge, walking at the very front. Lin Tian, I found you! Suddenly, a wild laugh sounded. As this laughter sounded, a black demonic light attacked from not far away, bringing with it an incomparably domineering power. Lin Tian tilted his head to look. There was no emotion on his face as he waved his hand and slashed out. With a clang, the golden sword light rushed out like lightning. In the blink of an eye, it collided with the black demonic light. For a moment, the entire space rumbled, and a violent hurricane swept out, causing some of the cultivators who were closer to the area to suffer. They were all sent flying by the aftershock of the collision between the demonic light and the sword light, coughing up blood. Lin Tian glanced at some of the cultivators who were sent flying. Then, he tilted his head and looked at the sky not far away. There, 3 figures stood in the air. On the left and right were 2 gray-robed elders, and in the middle was a tall man. He was looking at Lin Tian with a cold smile. His eyes were intertwined with a wild light, giving off a very dangerous feeling. This is the young sect master of the Heavenly Demon Sect, the next sect master of the Heavenly Demon Sect, Heavenly Demon Puppet. Why is this man here? Is he also here for the Emperor Tomb in the depths? It is said that under the half-step Emperor realm, there are not many people who are his opponent. Why did he attack Lin Tian? Many cultivators' faces changed. Staring at the tall man in the sky, the fear in these cultivators' eyes was much stronger than when they faced Lin Tian. After all, although Lin Tian killed 9 half-step emperors not long ago, which was very terrifying, he mainly relied on the power of the killing formation. However, the heavenly demon puppet was different. His combat strength was almost invincible under the half-step emperor realm. Moreover, he was destined to control the behemoth Heavenly Demon Sect in the future. He was destined to be one of the giants of the 9th heaven in the future. The deterrence of such a heavenly demon puppet to these cultivators was undoubtedly much stronger than Lin Tian. Wishing Crocodile looked at the sky and said to Lin Tian now, Heavenly Demon Divine Sect, I have told you before, right? It is one of the 9 top forces of this heaven. Rumor has it that the founder of this lineage is a 9th heaven demon venerable. He inherited the heavenly demon's secret art, which is a very overbearing ancient scripture. Its attack power is extremely tyrannical, and it contains many terrifying divine abilities. It looked at the tall man in the sky, and its eyes were slightly cold. The heavenly demon sect has a tradition. Only the descendants who truly have the best qualifications in the world are eligible to be granted the surname Heavenly Demon. As far as Lord Crocodile knows about the history of this lineage, it seems that since its inception, only 2 disciples in the later generations have been granted the surname Heavenly Demon. The first one was named Heavenly Demon ye tens of thousands of years ago. He was the best in an era. He once made the 10 Directions Heavenly Territory lose its voice. The second one is the person in front of you. It said, "Do you understand what Grandpa Crocodile means?" Lin Tian's expression was calm, and he didn't say anything. Next to him, Ling Yun was slightly moved and said, "That is to say, this man called Heavenly Demon Puppet is very terrifying?" Lin Tian still didn't say anything. He glanced at the Heavenly Demon Puppet and called Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun to leave. He didn't pay attention to the other party at all. The sound of air breaking sounded. Beside the Heavenly Demon Puppet, one of the gray-robed old men flashed and directly blocked in front of Lin Tian. He said indifferently, "Didn't you hear my sex's young master calling your name? It means to ask you to stop." Boom! Lin Tian lifted his leg directly and kicked the gray-robed old man's chest. For such a person who blocked his way with ill intentions, he had nothing to say to the other party. He just kicked him away directly. With a crack, the sound of bones breaking came out. The gray-robed old man was sent flying on the spot. He coughed up blood while still in the air. He rolled in the distance and couldn't get up for a long time. That gray-robed old man is at the peak of the second heaven of Nirvana realm. He was kicked so hard that he couldn't get up. How terrifying! Indeed, not only does he have the ability to inscribe a terrifying killing array, his strength is also so terrifying. Really? Many cultivators were shocked. However, that's someone from the Heavenly Demon Divine Sect. He actually attacked the other party directly. Isn't that normal? He dared to wave his butcher's knife at the great Annihilation God Dynasty. There's no reason for him to be afraid of the Heavenly Demon Divine Sect, right? That's true, but it's always a good thing to not have one more enemy of such a level, right? Others were discussing. In the distance, beside the Heavenly Demon Puppet in the sky, another gray-robed old man was moved. When he stared at Lin Tian again, an obvious light of fear flashed in his eyes. However, this only lasted for an instant, and then a strand of coldness appeared in his eyes once more. After all, they were members of the Heavenly Demon Sect. Lin Tian had injured a member of their Heavenly Demon Sect in front of so many people, so no matter how you put it, it would be detrimental to the dignity of their sect. Staring at Lin Tian, he took a step forward. "Young man, you're too daring, noisy, get out of the way." The Heavenly Demon Puppet directly interrupted the gray-robed old man. With a wave of his hand, he swept the old man hundreds of feet away. This caused the nearby cultivators to tremble in fear. He actually attacked someone from the same sect. Just like the rumors say, the Heavenly Demon Puppet is a wild and domineering man. Looking at the Heavenly Demon Puppet, many cultivators' eyes were filled with fear. The Heavenly Demon Puppet stepped on the void. He was tall and burly with a wild nature. His gaze was aggressive as he looked down at Lin Tian from the sky. "I want your pure young flame." He was very direct, and there was an unquestionable tone in his words. It was as if an emperor was talking to his subjects. Many cultivators around were shocked. The Heavenly Demon Puppet was here for Lin Tian's pure young flame. "I've heard before that in order to perfect the Heavenly Demon art, one needs to find pure yang flame to cultivate it. Is this true? That Lin Tian seems to have used pure yang flame before. Has he been targeted by the Heavenly Demon Puppet?" Some people were shocked. Lin Tian glanced at the Heavenly Demon Puppet and ignored him. He called out to the Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun, and walked into the depths again. Boom! The sky rumbled. A mass of pitch-black demonic killing light rushed out of the Heavenly Demon Puppet's body and directly pressed down on Lin Tian. This devilish light was slightly terrifying, and it caused all the cultivators to be horrified. They felt that even an expert at the 5th level of the rebirth realm would find it difficult to survive this strike, and all of them ran towards the distance in panic as they were deeply afraid that the shockwaves of this devilish light would threaten their lives. Lin Tian raised his hand. Just like before, Ling Tian's sword light appeared and slashed toward the sky, colliding with the demonic light. In an instant, rumbling sounds could be heard as the void directly exploded. He looked at the heavenly demon puppet and said indifferently, "Do you want to die or not?" These words caused all the cultivators in the surroundings to be shocked. They were shocked by Lin Tian's unyielding attitude. At the same time, many people couldn't help but shrink their necks. Whether he wanted to die or not, weren't the two the same meanings? As expected of the man who killed 9 half-step emperors of the great extinguishing god dynasty. He's really strong. Someone swallowed his saliva. The heavenly demon puppet looked at Lin Tian and laughed wildly. Interesting. A man like you is really interesting. Staring at Lin Tian, he laughed arrogantly and wantonly. Then, his laughter disappeared, and a powerful demonic light rushed out of his body. It was as if a demonic spring had suddenly erupted. His demonic power spread in all directions. Hand over the pure yang flame, and I won't kill you. Rumbling sounds rang out as the sky trembled. The powerful demonic aura caused all the cultivators in this place to tremble in fear. This kind of demonic aura was simply too terrifying. It was as if a peerless devil sovereign had descended to this world at his peak. Damn it! This bastard, this aura. Ling Yun couldn't help but be shocked. Swoosh! With the sound of the sky breaking, Lin Tian's figure disappeared in the blink of an eye. In the next moment, he appeared beside the heavenly demon puppet in the sky. He directly waved his hand, and a punch shattered the great void, landing on the heavenly demon puppet's face. I hate people who are arrogant to me, he said. Chapter 1098. Lin Tianyi would not take the initiative to provoke others. However, if others provoked him, he could only talk to them with his fists. Dong! His expression was cold. He threw out a punch, shattering the void. It was as if a sacred drum had been beaten in the starry sky. The heavenly demon puppet's eyes were wild and domineering. He faced Lin Tian's fist and threw a punch forward. In an instant, the two fists collided. A thunderous roar was heard and dozens of violent hurricanes swept out. Strong enough! I like it! Cultivators should be like this! The heavenly demon puppet laughed wildly. Then, there was a murderous intent in his laughter. However, unfortunately, your actions have decided your fate. Today, I can only kill you and take the flaming sun divine fire. As he spoke, he waved his other hand. It was as if a meteor had fallen and hit Lin Tian's head. With a loud boom, the void once again collapsed, and the entire space began to tremble. Kill me? You think you can? Lin Tian was expressionless. He did not dodge. Instead, he waved his other hand and threw a punch. With a boom, the two fists collided again. The destructive hurricanes appeared again, causing many cultivators' eardrums to go numb. Crack! 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 The surrounding void cracked open, and a silver spatial turbulence flowed out of it. Heh! The heavenly demon puppet laughed. His left hand shook and fist's radiance filled the sky. Lin Tianling snorted. He shook his right fist and a terrifying force swept out. The two of them collided in the sky. Their figures were so fast that they left behind afterimages. They were colliding with each other with their physical bodies. Bang! 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 A series of shocking collision sounds were heard. The ground was shaken and collapsed. They were evenly matched. No one was worse than the other. Damn it, this bastard from the heavenly demon sect can fight against Lin Tian with his physical body? This? Ling Yun could not help but grind his teeth. Even the wishing crocodile was a little surprised. It knew how strong Lin Tian's physical body was. Along the way, he was almost the best in his generation. However, This heavenly demon puppet did not seem to be inferior to Lin Tian in terms of physical strength. There is a reason why the heavenly demon sect gave him the surname Heavenly Demon. He is indeed abnormal and demonic. It narrowed its eyes. At the same time, the cultivators in this place were shocked. The collision between Lin Tian and the heavenly demon puppet was too terrifying. Just the aftermath of the collision seemed to be able to destroy everything. In the distance, in two different directions, the two gray-robed elders who came with the heavenly devil puppet stood up at this time. They stared at the sky, and their eyes were filled with shock. Young Master fell into the evil spirit veins when he was young and did not die. His flesh, blood, bones, and even his origin were reconstructed by the evil spirit veins. He is not inferior to a king physique. In fact, he is much stronger than an ordinary king physique. Especially in terms of physical strength, he will not lose to a barbarian king physique of the same level. This person can resist young Master with just his physical strength? The two of them gathered together and were both shocked. The sky rumbled and a hurricane swept across. It was a terrifying scene. The heavenly demon puppet's eyes were fierce and wild. He punched out, and the whole big space was shattered because of it. Lin Tian's expression was cold. His movements were not flashy. He still punched out. Bang! The two fists collided again. A transparent vibration wave spread out like water ripples and collapsed in all directions. The heavenly demon puppet's eyes became even wilder. His aura became even more shocking. With a boom, the sky was filled with dark demonic light. Then, he punched out with his left and right fists. Shadows of demonic fists filled the sky and suppressed the sky. Lin Tian did not retreat or dodge. He also shook his fists at the same time. The golden divine light was vast and mighty, and the dense fist's radiance went up against the sky. Bang! 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 The fist radiance collided with the fist radiance. After an unknown period of time, the two figures appeared and clashed again. You are indeed powerful. You did not disappoint me. The heavenly demon puppet's eyes were blazing, and his black hair danced wildly. With a boom, he raised his right hand and pressed down with a dark demonic fist. It was like a pitch-black meteorite. Its power was even more terrifying than before. You are not so good. Just SOSO. Lin Tian's voice was cold. He waved his right fist. Golden light flickered, as if he was pushing an ancient divine mountain forward. He bombarded the heavenly demon puppet. Bang! This was a terrifying collision. It was a pure physical confrontation. A large area of space was shattered again and again. The momentum was terrifying. In the blink of an eye, dozens of breaths passed. The two of them were sent flying. They both retreated more than 30 meters. Their strength is equal. Someone swallowed a mouthful of saliva. That Lin Tian is indeed terrifying. It's not just the killing formation. His own combat strength is also, he is not weaker than the future master of the heavenly demon divine sect. All the cultivators were shocked. In the void, Lin Tian stared at the heavenly demon puppet. His face was expressionless, but his heart was slightly shaken. He was a reincarnated body and had experienced several heavenly tribulations. He had tempered his physical body with precious treasures many times. His physical body could be said to be immortal. But now, the heavenly demon puppet's physical body was not inferior to his. This made him feel moved. Very good. It has been a long time since anyone in the same generation can fight with my physical body. You are really good. Very good. The black fog on the heavenly demon puppet's head danced wildly, and his eyes became more ferocious. He revealed a cold smile. Lin Tian's expression was cold. Is that so? Then I will show you something better. With a swoosh, he stepped forward again. Each step left afterimages. In the blink of an eye, he approached the heavenly demon puppet and waved his fist again. Dong! With a boom, a golden divine light rushed into the sky. This time, he directly attacked with 100% of his physical strength. In an instant, the entire place seemed to tremble as if the world was about to be destroyed. The heavenly demon puppet's expression changed slightly. Obviously, he felt the horror of this punch. With a low roar, he waved his fist with all his strength. With a boom, the two fists collided again, and directly shattered in all directions. Poof! Blood splattered, and the heavenly demon puppet's body was sent flying. His right fist was completely shattered, and fresh blood dripped down. Young master, how is this possible? The two old men who came with the heavenly demon puppet were shocked. The man who was given the surname, Heavenly Demon, in their bloodline, the future master of the heavenly demon divine sect, was stronger than the average king physique. But now, his arm was shattered by a peer of the same generation. The other cultivators around were also shocked. That heavenly demon puppet actually had his arm shattered. His physical body is no match for that Lin Tian? Everyone was shocked. On the other side, Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun couldn't help but laugh. Master Ling said it. In terms of physical strength, who in the same generation can really be a match for Lin Tian? Ling Yun gritted his teeth. In the sky, Lin Tian looked at the heavenly demon puppet who was sent flying. How is it? Do you think it's better? The heavenly demon puppet stabilized his body. His shattered arm was lying on the ground in blood. Then, in the blink of an eye, it was restored to its original state. He stared at Lin Tian, and his eyes were even more ferocious and cold. His black hair danced even more violently. Indeed, it's not bad. Killing someone like you must feel wonderful. He laughed eerily. Then, in the next moment, he moved dozens of feet in one step. With a bang, pitch-black devilish light charged out from his body, and it swept out like a gale. It transformed into dense devilish sword lights that emitted sonorous howls as they slashed through the sky, shattered the earth, and even shattered the air as they pressed down towards Lin Tian in a mighty manner. Lin Tian snorted. His clothes fluttered, and the sonorous sound spread around him. Streaks of sword light appeared one after another. With a thought, the dense sword light fell like rain. It was like a sea against the sky, directly toward the heavenly demon puppet. In the blink of an eye, the two collided and shattered. The sky was full of murderous light splashed, forcing the cultivators to retreat again and again. They were all terrified. Even some of the Nirvana Realm elders were no exception. Their eyes couldn't help but flicker. Boom! The sky shook, and the space was distorted. The collision of the golden light and the demonic light was terrifying. The heavenly demon puppet's eyes were wild and cold. 5 streaks of demonic light like sharp blades slashed across, intertwining with each other to seize Lin Tian's throat. This was not a simple physical attack. Demonic light surrounded the puppet's 5 fingers. It was obviously a very powerful magical power. Lin Tian didn't dodge. He condensed the heavenly sword force in his right hand. Holding the solid sword light, he slashed at the heavenly demon puppet. Clang! The two collided with each other, producing a metallic sound that sounded like it was real. Lin Tian shook the sword light in his hand. The dense sword light splashed out, and with a sonorous sound, rushed toward the heavenly demon puppet like a torrent. Come on! The heavenly demon puppet's eyes were wild. His 5 fingers moved like golden swords. Chi! 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 Lin Tian's sword light was all shattered in the blink of an eye. At the same time, the heavenly demon puppet's palm fell directly, intertwining with an even more powerful demonic light. It fiercely pressed the heavenly sword force in Lin Tian's hand. Die! The heavenly demon puppet said. The pitch-black demonic light flickered. The heavenly demon puppet's 5 fingers clasped slightly, grabbing toward Lin Tian's throat. Lin Tian's expression was cold. He clenched his right fist and blasted it out. Then, behind him, the desolate mountain, the divine bell, the 9 springs sacred sword, the sea of 3-leaf clovers, and the blood-colored crack appeared one by one. Together with his right fist, they were like a destructive torrent, crushing down on the heavenly demon puppet. Boom! Suddenly, the golden demonic light shook the land. The blazing light shrouded the surroundings. Demon swallows the sky! Suddenly, a wild roar sounded. With a boom, a huge demonic shadow appeared behind the heavenly demon puppet. It was as if the legendary lord of the demonic realm had been summoned. The terrifying demonic she seemed to be corroding the land. This is one of the core magical powers of the heavenly demon arts. It's said that when the demonic shadow appears, it will swallow everything. This. Retreat! Retreat quickly! Many cultivators were shocked. Many of them recognized this terrifying demonic divine art. They were all horrified. Roar! The demonic roar soared into the sky. Behind the heavenly demon puppet, the demonic shadow was hundreds of feet tall. It was entirely made of demonic chi. It pressed down on Lin Tian in a manner that could swallow the land. When it opened its demonic mouth, it seemed to be able to swallow the land. Chapter 1099. The demonic shadow towered between heaven and earth, swallowing everything in its way. Lin Tianwei frowned slightly. He naturally felt the terror of this attack, which made his back turn cold. However, he did not show the slightest fear. He formed a seal with both hands and directly supported the four-symbol seal. Buzz! The four-symbol seal appeared, and the Tao diagram was silver in color. It was intertwined with dense and mysterious patterns, and it began to expand rapidly under his will. It immediately expanded to a diameter of more than 100 feet, crushing toward the majestic demonic shadow that was closing in on him. In the blink of an eye, the two collided directly, bursting out a series of explosions. Demonic power and divine power intertwined in all directions. Bang! Bang! The space collapsed, and two shocking sounds were heard. Lin Tian and the heavenly demon puppet flew backward at the same time, both coughing up blood. The powerful collision injured both sides. Break! Break the heavenly demon sex demon swallowing the sky! That silver diagram, what technique is that? It's terrifying! The surrounding cultivators' hearts palpitated. In the sky, Lin Tian and the heavenly demon puppet stabilized themselves at the same time and stared at each other. Good! Very good! The heavenly demon puppet laughed wildly, and the corners of his mouth were stained with blood. His demonic power became even stronger, as if he was the reincarnation of a peerless demon. In the next moment, demonic light surrounded his body. He rushed out again, turning into a demonic pool, and pressed down on Lin Tian. Rumble! The sky shook. The void that had just recovered from the shattering collapsed again at this moment, and spatial turbulence poured out. Many cultivators were horrified. The heavenly demon puppet was really terrifying. This demonic power was simply too terrifying, and it made people shudder involuntarily. Boom! A hurricane swept out, sweeping in all directions. The black hair in front of Lin Tian's forehead was blown up and danced wantonly. His gaze was deep and cold. At this time, looking at this heavenly demon puppet, he remembered a great enemy of his. Desolate demon body Pitsung. Both of them were wild and domineering, and their personalities were almost the same. In other words, the heavenly demon puppet was more domineering than desolate demon body Pitsung. Speaking of which, desolate demon body, long time no see, he muttered to himself. As he muttered to himself, he did not ignore the heavenly demon puppet that was attacking him. He took a slight step back and directly punched out with his right fist. Roar! A dragon's roar reverberated in all directions as a true dragon divine shadow, which was several hundred feet long, appeared, bringing with it a boundless dragon's might as it pressed down on the heavenly devil puppet. At this moment, he directly punched out with the Chaos Emperor fist. The true dragon divine shadow swooped down and crushed the heavenly devil puppet's endless demonic light. With a swing of its tail, it landed on the heavenly devil puppet's chest. With a bang, the heavenly devil puppet was sent flying and smashed into the ground in the distance, creating a huge crater. Young master! The expressions of the two gray-robed old men who came with the heavenly devil puppet changed. At the same time, the sound of something breaking through the air rang out. In the sky, Lin Tian did not stop at all. Leaving behind afterimages with each step, he directly charged towards the heavenly devil puppet. The heavenly demon puppet wanted to kill him and steal his pure yang flame, so it was undoubtedly an enemy. Naturally, Yang Kai wouldn't give it a chance to breathe. Clang! Pitch-black demonic light surged. An enormous demonic sword hacked out from the ground, faster than lightning. It was like the killing light of the 9 underworlds. Lin Tian felt a chill run down his spine. He stopped his body and quickly dodged. In the nick of time, he moved more than 100 feet away. However, even so, he still couldn't completely avoid the demonic sword. His right arm was grazed, and blood splattered everywhere. It was almost broken. The heavenly devil puppet stepped into the sky again. Its eyes were more ferocious than before, full of wildness and killing intent. Boom! Pitch-black demonic light appeared again and circled around its body. It turned into a demonic armor that covered its body, flickering with dim light. It didn't seem to be injured at all. After the demonic energy condensed into the demonic armor, it condensed into a demonic saber. It was held in its hand. It cut through the sky and slashed towards Lin Tian's head. Lin Tian was expressionless. He formed a seal with both hands. Behind him, the precious artifact bell, the sea of clover, and the other divine elephants rushed out again. They buzzed and pressed against the heavenly devil puppet from afar. Not enough! The heavenly devil puppet roared and slashed down with its saber. It directly shattered all the divine elephants and forced it in front of Lin Tian. With a clang, the demonic saber shattered everything. As if it was real, it slashed towards Lin Tian's head. This is the heavenly devil armor blade. It seems to be, the demonic armor and demonic saber are one. That's right, it's the heavenly devil armor blade, the core great magical power of the sect. Its power is terrifying. Many cultivators were moved. Kid, be careful. This sect technique combines defense, attack, and killing. It has reached a terrifying level. It's very difficult to deal with. Whooshing Crocodile reminded him telepathically. Lin Tian was emotionless. His eyes were indifferent. He took a step forward, raised his hand, and waved it down slowly and powerfully. Roar! Roar! The dragon's roar shook the sky, and the phoenix's cry shocked the world. The true dragon's shadow and the immortal phoenix's shadow appeared together, pressing towards the heavenly devil puppet from left and right. It was an even more powerful Chaos Emperor fist. I'll shatter everything you have! The heavenly devil puppet's eyes were burning fiercely. Wearing the demonic armor and holding the demonic saber, its demonic power was vast and mighty. If you can do it, try it. Lin Tian's voice was cold. In the blink of an eye, the two collided again. The divine technique and the divine fist clashed fiercely. With a rumble, the void shook. Lin Tian used the immortal phoenix's shadow to meet the heavenly devil puppet's demonic saber, and the true dragon's shadow to wrap around the demonic armor outside the heavenly devil puppet's body. The dragon's roar and phoenix's cry reverberated again, as if it was real. Shatter all of them! The heavenly devil puppet roared. Its demonic power was even stronger. The demonic armor and demonic saber were extremely terrifying. Lin Tian's face was cold. After the Chaos Emperor fist was blasted out, the divining divine technique was used again. A dozen divining divine elephants appeared together. Its power was terrifying and shocking, as if thunder clouds were descending from all directions. The heavenly devil puppet roared. Its demonic light tore through heaven and earth. Its demonic armor and demonic saber faced the true dragon and immortal phoenix, and its other hand pressed down on the divining divine elephants. Break! The heavenly devil puppet roared coldly. Its hand reached out, and light claws filled the sky. This was a kind of divine claw technique wrapped in black demonic light. It was fierce, domineering, and sharp. It could be said to be unstoppable. Chi, 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 the dozen divining divine elephants summoned by Lin Tian were torn apart one by one, and a destructive hurricane immediately spread out. Lin Tian's expression did not change at all. He used the yin-yang puppet, and it was extremely fast. He urged the Chaos Emperor fist to be even more powerful. The true dragon's shadow and the immortal phoenix's shadow became even more fierce and powerful. They roared together, oppressing the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The heavenly devil puppet roared. Its black hair danced wildly, and its demonic power became stronger. The demonic armor's dark light rushed into the sky, and the demonic saber's murderous light surged. Boom! 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 In the fierce collision, the divine power and demonic light exploded again and again. In the end, with 2 cracking sounds, the heavenly devil puppet's demonic armor and demonic saber shattered, turning into scattered demonic light that filled the sky and dissipated. At the same time, the true dragon's shadow and the immortal phoenix's shadow that Lin Tian used the Chaos Emperor fist were also shattered. Die! Get lost! The 2 rushed in front of each other. The pitch-black demonic palm and the golden divine fist passed by each other, directly landing on each other's chest. Pooh! Pooh! Blood splattered. The heavenly devil puppet's chest was shattered, and Lin Tian's chest was penetrated. They were both sent flying dozens of feet. These 2, they're both so scary. Their combat power is almost the same. Many cultivators swallowed their saliva. Boom! Boom! In the sky, demonic power and divine power rushed up. The heavenly devil puppet and Lin Tian stabilized their bodies, and their wounds healed in the blink of an eye. Not bad! I haven't experienced this kind of battle in a long time. It's really good. It's wonderful. The heavenly devil puppet laughed wildly. He stared at Lin Tian with a ferocious gaze, like a wild beast staring at its prey. Kill! As the word kill crossed the sky, the heavenly devil puppet's ferocity and madness seemed to have been completely mobilized. The demonic light became thicker and stronger, and the vast and dazzling demonic light swept toward Lin Tian with an extremely domineering aura. The golden light in Lin Tian's eyes became stronger and more shocking. At this moment, his entire body seemed to be cast in gold, and even his hair was dyed with a layer of golden light. He slashed at the heavenly devil puppet with the towering heaven sword force. In the blink of an eye, the 2 collided again. The demonic light and golden light were vast and mighty, and the killing lights slashed at each other again and again. Clang! Lin Tian tore apart the heavenly devil puppet's demonic light with a dense sword light, and mercilessly stabbed the killing sword in his hand into his opponent's chest. However, almost at the same time, the heavenly devil puppet's demonic light bombarded his chest and penetrated it. Cough! He coughed out a mouthful of blood, but his eyes did not change at all. They were cold and indifferent. The killing sword in the heavenly devil puppet's chest shook, and dense sword chi bloomed in the heavenly devil puppet's body. The heavenly devil puppet was directly pierced into a sieve. The heavenly devil puppet coughed out blood, but his eyes were even more ferocious. He grabbed Lin Tian's shoulder and viciously twisted, tearing off a large piece of flesh. He almost tore off Lin Tian's entire arm. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. At the closest distance, he once again swung the Chaos Emperor fist, aiming at his opponent's cheek. The heavenly devil puppet roared, and the demonic light on his body suddenly shone brightly. A pitch-black demonic whirlpool appeared and met Lin Tian's punch. With the appearance of this demonic whirlpool, everything around was swallowed up, like a terrifying black hole. Roar! Lin Tian's punch was even stronger, and the true dragon divine shadow appeared again. This time, it was more than 100 feet long, and its power was even more shocking. With a rumble, the 2 collided violently and finally exploded. With 2 bangs, the 2 were sent flying, and half of their bodies were shattered. Blood-red flames flickered outside Lin Tian's body, and the shattered half of his body was restored to its original state in the blink of an eye. On the opposite side, the heavenly devil puppet's body was intertwined with demonic light, and there were strands of demonic runes floating. It seemed that he had also performed the healing saint art. The speed of his recovery was not slower than Lin Tian's, and his injured body was also healed in an instant. You are destined to die in my hands, The heavenly devil puppet stared at Lin Tian and laughed eerily. The demonic light outside his body became even more turbulent, like a demonic volcano that was about to erupt. You can try. Lin Tian's voice was cold. With a boom, the four symbols Tao diagram, the heavenly divine elephant, the towering sword light, and other divine killing lights appeared one by one beside him. Suddenly, the rolling divine power was vast and mighty, and the pressure was overwhelming. I'll kill you! The heavenly devil puppet roared, and a demonic sea rushed out from behind him. The demonic shadows were indistinct, as if they were real. They let out terrifying demonic roars and pressed straight toward Lin Tian. Chapter 1100. Divine light and demonic radiance surged together. Lin Tian raised the many divine images of the heavens and the dense sword radiance. The Tao diagram of the four symbols also blasted forward together, clashing with the demonic shadows summoned by the heavenly devil puppet, filling the sky with divine radiance. Crack! 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 As the two collided, the void in this place continued to collapse, and the ground also crumbled inch by inch. After a dozen breaths, Lin Tian and the heavenly demon puppet's figures flew out at the same time with two bangs. Their mouths were stained with blood, and their bodies shook violently. Good, good, good! Interesting! The heavenly demon puppet laughed wildly. Lin Tian's expression was cold. With a wave of his right hand, the golden towering heaven sword radiance cut through the great void and pressed down on the heavenly demon puppet. The golden sword radiance flew across, crushing everything in its path. The heavenly demon puppet's eyes were filled with wildness. He directly waved his fist, and the demonic radiance pressed down on Lin Tian's towering heaven sword radiance. The two collided with the sky. The divine light was unparalleled, and the demonic radiance was terrifying. Boom! 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 The great void cracked, and the silver space turbulence gushed out continuously. This kind of battle was a little terrifying. The surrounding cultivators had already retreated far away, but at this time, they were frightened by the terrifying energy when the two of them clashed. They all retreated again. Even some of the Nirvana Realm elders were no exception. They were trembling with fear. This heavenly demon puppet is indeed terrifying, Lingyan said in a deep voice. The fact that the heavenly demon sect gave him the surname Heavenly Demon is enough to prove this point, Wishing Crocodile said. The man in crocodile also retreated far away at this time, watching the battle between Lin Tian and the heavenly demon puppet from afar. Boom! Billowing divine power interweaved in all directions. The battle between Lin Tian and the heavenly demon puppet was almost at its peak, and the murderous aura was even stronger. In this place, everyone's eyes fell on the two of them. Their hearts palpitated, and they all held their breaths. Boom! Suddenly, the earth shook again. The entire Taichu Immortal Ridge was shaking as if a huge earthquake had happened. In the depths, the pitch-black fog rushed up again. It was frighteningly cold, as if the door of hell had been opened. Vaguely, the screams of ghosts sounded again. This is... the energy there is erupting again. It's that Emperor's tomb. In an instant, all the cultivators' gazes were drawn over. As far as the eye could see, the energy in the depths was so dense that it was somewhat frightening. Black fog billowed, dyeing the sky much darker. Lin Tian tilted his head to look, and his eyes involuntarily lit up. At this moment, he once again sensed the spiritual qi of the divine pulse level. This time, the feeling was even clearer than before. There's definitely a divine pulse there, he muttered to himself. Boom! The heavenly devil puppet bombarded Lin Tian with a cold and tyrannical devil aura. At this time, although it was somewhat concerned about the yin qi in the depths, it was more concerned about Lin Tian, because it wanted to obtain the pure yang yen in Lin Tian's body. Lin Tianling snorted. Although he was looking into the depths, he naturally did not ignore the heavenly devil puppet. He immediately threw a punch at the puppet, sending out a glaring fist force that pierced through the void and collided with the heavenly devil puppet. Boom! Another boom rang out, and the Taichu Immortal Ridge shook even more violently. Cracks quickly appeared one after another. Not far away, the large lake was boiling and water splashed in all directions. At the same time, under the cracks that appeared on the ground, waves of mist rushed out like a volcanic eruption. It was blood-red in color, and when it rushed out, it caused the air to emit a sizzling sound as it was corroded. More than 10,000 years old pulse-terminating demonic mist! Lin Tian's expression changed, and he quickly retreated. At the same time, he transmitted his voice to Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun to be careful and not be contaminated by this mist. Ah! A blood-curdling scream rang out, and it was extremely mournful and painful. An Enlightenment Realm cultivator was contaminated by the blood-red mist that sprayed out from the ground. His physical body immediately began to decay at an extremely fast speed, and even his soul could not struggle out. The pulse-terminating demonic mist was very terrifying. It was a corrosive energy condensed by the earth veins, and it could even melt the soul. More than 10,000 years old pulse-terminating demonic mist was even more terrifying. Even half-step emperors could die on the spot if they were contaminated. Lin Tian cultivated the dragon burial scripture, so he naturally understood this kind of thing very well. He retreated to Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun's side with each step, leaving afterimages behind. Dragon markings interweaved, and immediately protected the man and crocodile within. "What's going on?" Wishing Crocodile asked. Lin Tian looked into the depths, and a faint light interweaved in his eyes. "The yin qi there is too dense. With it rushing out like this, it has affected most of the earth veins in the Taichu Immortal Ridge. Many dangerous things underground may rush out at this time." Hearing his words, Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun's expressions became slightly serious. Lin Tian was currently at the second level of nirvana, and he controlled the dragon burial scripture. With this kind of power, the words, dangerous things, were enough to show that the current situation was very bad. It could be said that a huge earthquake had truly erupted in the Taichu Immortal Ridge at this time. "Lin Tian!" The heavenly devil puppet's eyes were wild, and black demonic light interweaved around its body. It dodged the pulse-terminating demonic mist that rushed up from the ground, and charged towards Lin Tian. "Pure yang flame, it's mine! Damn, how arrogant! He actually dares to charge over without any scruples in the midst of so much pulse-terminating demonic mist!" Ling Yun cursed. Wishing Crocodile bared his teeth. "Kid, use a high-grade sacred weapon and shoot him to death!" Lin Tian shook his head, his expression somewhat serious as he stared underground. "Go! Leave immediately!" he said in a low voice. The vain termination baleful mist that surged up from underground grew denser and denser. Moreover, he sensed that there was an even more terrifying fluctuation underground, and it was like an ancient ferocious beast that was in deep slumber was about to awaken, causing him to feel threatened and oppressed. This feeling was something he had never felt even when facing a half-step emperor-level expert. Clang! The heavenly devil puppet charged over, once again wielding its pitch-black demonic blade to slash at Lin Tian. In the blink of an eye, it was about to reach Lin Tian. However, it was also at this time that the Taichu Immortal Ridge shook, and a beast's roar came from underground. Instantly, an extremely terrifying aura interweaved, causing the heavenly devil puppet's expression to change. Then, it was sent flying hundreds of meters away by this aura. "Young master!" The two gray-robed elders who came with the heavenly devil puppet were dodging the pulse-terminating demonic mist in this place. Seeing the heavenly devil puppet flying, their expressions changed. These two were in the Nirvana realm, so their speed was extremely fast. At this moment, they rushed towards the direction where the heavenly devil puppet was flying. It was also at this moment that the beast's roar from underground became even louder. The ground cracked open inch by inch, and pitch-black tentacles broke out from the ground like demonic vines. They were densely packed and pierced through space, penetrating everything. The baleful aura was oppressive. PFFF. PFFF. Blood splattered as the two gray-robed elders who rushed towards the heavenly devil puppet were penetrated on the spot and dragged underground. Ah! Horrifying screams came from underground, and then disappeared in the blink of an eye. The two Nirvana Realm Grey-Robed Elders' powerful life fluctuations completely disappeared at this moment, and could no longer be felt. Lin Tian retreated with the Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun. At this moment, he stared at the densely packed tentacles that rushed out from underground, and his eyes interweaved with a faint light. He retreated even faster. There is indeed something else. His expression was slightly stern. Originally, when the terminated Meridian's fiendish mist rushed out, he already felt that there was another terrifying aura underground. However, he didn't expect it to be this strong, exceeding his expectations. This aura was at least 10 times stronger than normal half-step emperors. What is this? Ling Yun's eyes widened, and his back turned cold. It seems like it swallowed those two grey-robed old fools. As he spoke, he couldn't help but shudder. After all, the two grey-robed old men were both at the Nirvana stage, and experts of this level had actually been completely annihilated in the blink of an eye. This truly caused him to be slightly horrified. Even the old monster Wishing Crocodile's heart was palpitating and shocked at this moment. It is comparable to a pseudo-monarch expert. A vicious demon that was born in the earth vein. It has lived for at least 30,000 years. Lin Tian now said. Speed up a bit more. As he said this, he channeled the dragon burial scripture. Strands of dragon markings interweaved, becoming a dragon pattern light wave. It dispersed the terminated Meridian's fiendish mist that was coming from all directions, allowing them to retreat more smoothly. At this moment, the terminated Meridian's fiendish mist that rushed out of this place was becoming more and more terrifying. Moreover, the vicious demon with tentacles was also very terrifying. With their current strength, they definitely wouldn't be able to stop it. Choosing to quickly leave was naturally the best choice. At the same time, when the Yin-Chi rushed out from the depths of this immortal ridge for the second time, he once again felt the spirit chi of the God vein level. At this moment, if they left this place and headed deeper, they definitely had to obtain that God vein. Save me! There were quite a few cultivators here. At this moment, many of them had met with a great disaster. They were either corroded by the terminated Meridian's fiendish mist, or pierced by the vicious demon's tentacles from underground and dragged into the vicious demon's stomach. With a rumble, the ground in this place shook even more violently, and the number of tentacles that rushed out like demonic vines increased. With a crack, a large piece of land shattered, and a huge head emerged. It was as big as a small mountain, and its eyes were blood-red and full of lumps. It was extremely ugly. Its body was full of densely packed tentacles, and each of them was like a demonic vine. As its head emerged, they shook crazily, smashing pieces of the ground and splashing sand and gravel all over the sky. For a moment, some of the cultivators here were in trouble again, and many of them were directly shattered. Specks of blood floated in the air, looking very demonic. Damn, this is an octopus that lives underground? I've learned something new. Ling Yun stared. Don't talk nonsense. Hurry up and retreat. Lin Tian now. The aura of this octopus-like vicious demon was too strong. If they were targeted, they would definitely be in big trouble. Buzz! Suddenly, his right hand lit up, and a fiery red light overflowed from the stone ring on his finger. He tilted his head and looked, and his expression changed slightly when he scanned with his divine consciousness. This is, in the stone ring on his right hand, the remnant green jade that he had obtained in the big lake before, which was surrounded by the aura of the Emperor, vibrated at this moment, as if it was about to break out of the ring. At the same time, an ear-piercing roar sounded. In the distance, the terrifying octopus-like vicious demon turned its ugly head, and 2 rays of bloody light shot out from its blood-red eyes, directly staring at Lin Tian. Chapter 1101. Lin Tian's expression changed slightly. The moment the octopus-like fierce demon stared at him, a terrifying aura pressed down. It was unknown how many times stronger it was than a half-step Emperor Realm cultivator. It immediately sent a chill down his spine. Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun naturally noticed that the octopus-like fierce demon was staring at Lin Tian. They both shrunk their necks. "Kid, why do I feel that you are a natural breed to attract hatred? This thing has only just appeared, and it has already set its sights on you." Wishing Crocodile gritted his teeth. "I feel the same," Ling Yun glared. Lin Tian didn't have time to bicker with them. At this moment, the dragon patterns intertwined and called for Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun to increase their speed. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Their speed increased a lot as they rushed towards the depths of the Taichu Immortal Ridge. Behind them, the fierce demon roared. Dozens of tentacles smashed the sky and pressed down directly. In an instant, a violent force directly shrouded the surroundings, causing Lin Tianyi and the others' internal organs to tremble. Lin Tianyi gritted his teeth and directly propped up the reincarnation diagram. The majestic and holy light went towards the dozens of tentacles. At the same time, he stepped on the yin-yang avatar and wrapped Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun with the dragon pattern light. One step was a few hundred feet away. Hum! In his stone ring, the green remnant jade emitted an even stronger light. A scorching feeling spread and intertwined. Roar! Behind them, the fierce demon roared. Its pupils that stared at Lin Tian became even more blood-red. Dozens of tentacles pressed down together. With a swoosh, the reincarnation diagram was directly shattered. The dozens of tentacles fell, and a hurricane directly crushed down. Lin Tian felt a chill down his spine. He blasted out the Chaos Emperor fist with all his strength. Then, he executed the yin-yang avatar to the extreme. He brought Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun a few hundred feet away in a split second, avoiding the dozens of tentacles at the last moment. "Brat, how did you provoke this thing? You're the only one it's targeting." Wishing Crocodile was confused. Lin Tian frowned. The light and heat emitted by the broken piece of jade in the stone ring intensified. He waved his hand and took it out. Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun were both shocked. Ling Yun said, It's glowing on its own. What's going on?" Roar! A violent roar rang out. The ferocious demon stared at this place, and the aura around his body instantly rose by more than 10 times, almost wanting to destroy this Taichu's celestial ridge. Dense cracks appeared on the ground, extending out like a spider web. "Is it the aura of this piece of jade that attracted it?" Wishing Crocodile's expression changed slightly. "It's obvious." Lin Tian now. In fact, he had already guessed this before, but he was not sure. At this time, when he took out the broken jade from the stone ring, the fierce demon suddenly became more violent, which was enough to prove that it was related to this broken jade. He pushed his second-level Nirvana realm cultivation to the limit, and his speed became even faster as he quickly left this place. Roar! The fierce demon roared, and its tentacles shook as it chased after Lin Tian. As the tentacles around its body trembled, the space around it trembled nonstop. Waves of destructive energy interweaved, crushing everything and pressing towards Lin Tian. Even though Lin Tian was at the second level of Nirvana realm, he still felt waves of fear. "Brat, quickly throw away that jade! If this continues, we might be swallowed alive by this monster." Ling Yun had goosebumps all over his body. "Do you think it will be useful if we throw it away now?" Lin Tian now. He clearly felt that the fierce demon had locked onto him. At this time, even if he threw away the broken jade, it would be useless. With a rumbling sound, he circulated the Sun Heart Sutra to the limit. He wrapped Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun in divine light and rushed towards the depths, wanting to shake off this fierce demon with speed. This was because this octopus-like vicious demon was truly terrifying. It was much stronger than normal half-step emperors. With his current strength, it was impossible for him to face it head-on. At this moment, escaping as quickly as possible was the best choice. Roar! The fierce demon roared, and its tentacles were like legs, crushing the ground as it rushed towards Lin Tian. Clouds of dust and gravel were swept up, and cracks spread out at an even faster speed. It was a very frightening scene. Lin Tian brought Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun all the way to the depths of the Immortal Ridge. In the blink of an eye, they crossed more than 1,000 feet. Boom! The Taichu Immortal Ridge shook violently. In the depths, another wave of Yin fog rushed up. The rolling black fog covered the sky and dyed everything black. Ghost howls mixed within. Lin Tian felt an even thicker spirit chi fluctuation, as if a spirit river was under the Yin fog. What astonishing spirit chi! Brat Lin, is this the spirit chi fluctuation you mentioned before? Wishing Crocodile was shocked. At this time, the spirit chi fluctuation from the depths had reached an astonishing density, and it also felt it. Master Ling also felt it. It's definitely the divine range. Ling Yun stared into the depths, his eyes shining. Lin Tian ignored them at this time and fled at top speed with the yin-yang avatar. This was because the aura of the fierce demon chasing from behind had become even sharper, like a destructive sea. At this time, he didn't even think of using the superior grade sacred weapon because he knew very well that even if he took it out, it would be useless. Only relying on speed to shake off the other party's huge demon body was the most effective method at the moment. Buzz! He dragged the broken jade, and the Sun Heart Sutra circulated even faster. The golden divine light surged, and his speed increased greatly. Immediately, he brought the 5 elements Crocodile and Ling Yun, and the distance between them and the fierce demon increased greatly. Brat, that's it! Speed up! Ling Yun shouted. Lin Tian didn't say anything. The golden divine light surged even more, enveloping Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun. He activated the yin-yang avatar even more shockingly, and his speed increased by a lot. Finally, he left the fierce demon behind and gradually disappeared. At this time, he didn't slow down at all. He wanted to leave the other party further behind in one breath. That octopus monster, towards that broken jade. I feel like it has seen a deeply hated enemy, Wishing Crocodile said. Master Ling also feels the same, but why? Shouldn't this piece of broken jade be something that the Emperor had once worn close to his body? Why does the octopus bear a grudge against it like a mortal enemy? What's going on? Ling Yun was very curious. Then, the man and the crocodile both looked at Lin Tian. Meeting their gazes, Lin Tian now said, God knows! In his hand, the broken jade was still buzzing and glowing, and there was a trace of scorching heat. Although he was puzzled and very concerned about this, he couldn't think of anything. He simply stopped thinking about it, and put it back into the stone ring. Then, he stepped into the depths at an even faster speed. He wanted to rush there and obtain the divine pulse there to let the little fellow be born. Gradually, he brought Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun closer and closer to the depths. He sensed that the divine pulse level spirit chi fluctuation was getting stronger and stronger. After that, he used the yin and yang hua with his full strength at the second level of the nirvana realm. Around 2 hours later, he finally brought the 5 elements Crocodile and Ling Yun to the depths of the Primordium Immortal Ridge. Looking ahead, pitch black yin chi surged up like a yin chi volcano erupting. There was a huge black abyss on the surface of the ground. It was very abrupt, and it was obvious that it had just appeared. It was difficult to see the bottom at a glance. This is... Chapter 1102. The abyss was pitch black, and they couldn't see the bottom. Strands of black fog rushed up from below, making it seem cold. The entire abyss looked like a ferocious beast with its bloody mouth wide open. The intertwining aura made even Lin Tian feel apprehensive. Down here, there's a very bad feeling. Ling Yun shrunk his neck. Lin Tian stared at the abyss. Although he was a little apprehensive, his expression quickly calmed down. His eyes intertwined with strands of light as he used his powerful divine sense to scan the bottom of the abyss. How is it? Wishing Crocodile asked. I can't see the bottom, but that spirit energy fluctuation is indeed coming from below, Lin Tian said. Rumble. Just at this moment, a shocking rumbling sound came from behind. Huge cracks extended from the distance. That octopus-like vicious beast chased after them, blood-colored dark light twining around its body. Its ferocious appearance was terrifying. Roar! It let out a violent roar, its eyes filled with cold light and hostility as it stared straight at Lin Tian. Damn it, this bastard is catching up again! Ling Yun ground his teeth. This demon's aura was a little terrifying, comparable to a pseudo-emperor. Even if they worked together, they were far from being its match. Lin Tian looked back at the abyss in front of him. Let's go down! After saying this, he didn't hesitate and directly jumped down. At this moment, the ferocious demon had chased after them, and there was no way out. Most importantly, he could feel that the spiritual chi fluctuation of the divine vein level was coming from below. If he wanted to find it, he naturally had to go down. Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun saw Lin Tian jump down. At this time, they naturally didn't hesitate and also jumped down. With a whoosh, as the two people and the crocodile jumped into the abyss, cold astral winds came from both sides. It was mixed with a sinister aura, causing one's body to involuntarily feel cold. Woo! The screams of malicious ghosts came from below. As the group of people descended, malicious ghosts rushed up with malevolent faces. There were more than 10 ferocious ghosts, and none of them were weak. Their bodies were shrouded in a shocking aura of death. They were like envoys from hell, and they pounced directly toward the two people and the crocodile. Lin Tian's expression was calm as he waved his right hand. Suddenly, a large amount of golden sword light surrounded him and slashed downwards with a resounding clang. For a moment, the sound of chi rang out as the dozen or so ferocious ghosts that were charging towards the two humans and one crocodile were all chopped into pieces. This was just a small interlude. The two people and the crocodile did not care and continued to fall to the bottom of the abyss. Boom! A bone-chilling demonic chi came from above, bringing with it a strong gust of wind, causing the group to tremble. It's that octopus monster! Damn it, it actually followed us and jumped down here. Ling Yun looked at Lin Tian and couldn't help but roll his eyes. Speaking of which, little Lin, why is that piece of green jade that you picked up so important to that monster? Why don't we just throw it away? No matter how I look at it, that thing is a big problem. We won't throw it away. Moreover, I've already said that it's useless to throw it away now. It has already set its sights on us. Lin Tian now subconsciously felt that the piece of green jade would be useful. He scanned the area above with his divine thoughts and clearly sensed that the quasi-emperor level ferocious demon was approaching. However, he did not show any signs of fear. Since he had rushed all the way here, he had already discovered that although the ferocious demon's strength was terrifying and he was no match for it, in terms of speed, the other party was not very good. He could completely shake it off with his speed. Speed up a little? He said to the wishing crocodile and Ling Yun. Immediately, the group increased their speed at the same time. The strong winds on both sides whistled as they reached the bottom of the abyss in a short while. As far as the eye could see, the bottom of the abyss was extremely large. The air was intertwined with a pitch-black fog, and the soil was slightly damp. Even a simple step would leave footprints on the ground. Roar! The roar of the demonic beast came from above and was very ear-piercing. The octopus-like monster was approaching. Let's go, Lin Tian now said. Using the dragon burial scripture and his divine thoughts, he quickly found the source. It was located in the western part of the abyss. He called out to the wishing crocodile and Ling Yun as they rushed towards it. The air in the abyss was extremely cold. However, it was nothing to the two of them and the crocodile. After all, the weakest among them was at the half-step to nirvana stage. This level of cold aura would not affect them much. Moo! A sound similar to that of a cow rang out. A ferocious demon charged out from the ground in front of them. Its entire body was dripping with black blood, as if it had emerged from a pool of blood. It extended its huge rotting claws and clawed at the group. Lin Tian now walked at the front. His expression did not change at all. He raised his right hand slightly and intertwined a golden finger glow. With a pop, the demon that charged out was instantly smashed into pieces. Swoosh! 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 Wisps of deathly aura filled the air. As Lin Tiandao and the rest advanced, more and more demons charged out. All of them were shrouded in a terrifying deathly aura. They were like a group of soldiers from hell. The moment they appeared, they pounced on Lin Tiandao and the rest. There are so many demons. Ling Yun gritted his teeth. The deathly aura below is so dense. It would be abnormal if there weren't many demons. Whooshing Crocodile said. Lin Tiandao did not say anything. Streaks of golden sword aura appeared beside him and spread out in all directions like a hurricane. Pop! 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 Every demon that came near was smashed into pieces by his sword aura. Now that he was at the second heaven of Nirvana realm, ordinary demons and ghosts could not stop him at all. His speed was quite fast. Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun followed behind him, cutting down one demon after another. Not long after, a bronze palace appeared in front of them. It was lying on the ground. The entire palace looked very dilapidated. Waves of terrifying deathly aura overflowed from inside and then rushed into the sky. That level of deathly aura really looked like it came from hell. The deathly aura that was spurting out just now rushed out from this bronze palace? This palace. Who left it behind? Is it really the tomb of an emperor that was recorded in some unofficial history? Ling Yun was shocked. At the same time, his eyes lit up. If it was really an emperor's tomb, the collection inside would be very rich. Maybe they could find a complete heavenly treasure. Lin Tiandao stared at the palace. His eyes were intertwined with light. Once again, he felt the familiar spiritual energy fluctuation. It was stronger than ever before. It was coming from the center of the palace. Roar! The roar of a ferocious beast came from behind them. It shook the ground as the ferocious demon chased after them. Lin Tiandao glanced back and looked at the bronze palace in front of them again. He briefly told Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun that the location of the godly pulse was at the center of the bronze palace. Then, he called the two of them to go towards the palace. Go, go, go! The demonic light in Whooshing Crocodile's eyes was very intense. He seemed to be slightly excited. Lin Tiandao walked at the front. In the blink of an eye, he was close to the door of the bronze palace. Then, just as he was about to reach the door of the bronze palace, layers of runes suddenly intertwined and directly shook him away with great force. This is an emperor-level Tao pattern? He steadied himself, and his expression changed slightly. In front of him, strands of Tao pattern intertwined to form a huge light shield. An extremely powerful aura surrounded the entire bronze palace. This? Whooshing Crocodile recognized the extraordinariness of this Tao pattern. He said, These Tao patterns can't be destroyed unless they are emperor-level experts. Is it that sturdy? Ling Yun stared and said, Isn't the Yin Qi seeping out directly from inside? Some Tao patterns prevent outside but not inside. Ordinary people can come out from inside, but it is very difficult to enter from outside. Whooshing Crocodile said. Doesn't that mean that we can't enter? Ling Yun opened his mouth. This is an emperor's tomb. Such a huge treasure vault, and we can only stand outside and look. Also, didn't Lin Tiandao say that the godly pulse is at the center of the bronze palace? Doesn't this mean that we can't get the godly pulse? Whooshing Crocodile shook his head. We can't help it. These Tao patterns were created by emperors. They are too powerful for us. Lin Tian stared ahead and frowned. It wasn't easy for him to find a godly pulse and its exact location. He rushed here, but he couldn't enter. Buzz. At this moment, the green remnant jade in his stone ring emitted an even stronger glow. It was 10 times stronger than before. An even hotter aura intertwined, causing the space in the stone ring to shake uncontrollably. It looked like it was going to shatter. Lin Tianwei was shocked. He quickly took out the remnant jade from the stone ring. Buzz. The glow on the remnant jade was even stronger, and the heat was even stronger. Even with Lin Tian's current cultivation, he could feel that his palm was boiling hot. He felt as though his palm was going to be melted by the remnant jade. He frowned slightly, and then his expression changed. This was because the Tao patterns outside the bronze palace suddenly trembled and intertwined with strands of light. They were actually resonating with the remnant jade in his hand. The Tao patterns here are resonating with the remnant jade? Could it be the person who carved this Tao pattern was the original owner of the remnant jade? Wishing Crocodile was shocked. Lin Tian's eyes lit up. From the looks of it, it was very likely that the person who had carved the inscriptions here was the original owner of the piece of jade. This was because there was a strand of the original owner's emperor chi on the jade, which was why the inscriptions here had resonated with the piece of jade. This was the only explanation that made sense. If that's the case, he muttered. He held the remnant jade and pressed it against the Tao patterns in front of him. Since the person who carved the Tao patterns here was most likely the original owner of the remnant jade in his hand, and the remnant jade had a strand of the original owner's emperor chi, he felt that holding the remnant jade should be able to pass through these Tao patterns. There was a faint light in his eyes. He held the remnant jade and moved forward. Then, his entire arm passed through the Tao patterns in front of him. It really works. His eyes lit up. Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun both widened their eyes in shock. Young man, you have great foresight. Luckily, we didn't lose it because of that octopus monster. Ling Yun was surprised and happy. This plaything is the key to opening this emperor's tomb. Chapter 1103. Originally, they thought that they wouldn't be able to enter the Bronze Palace because of the Tao patterns and obtain the Divine Meridian. They didn't expect the green jade fragment to resonate with the Tao patterns here. Therefore, they could enter, which surprised the five elements Crocodile and Ling Yun. Meanwhile, Lin Tianzi smiled. His previous feeling was right. Keeping this piece of broken jade was indeed useful. Boom! A terrifying evil spirit came from afar. The ground shook and large cracks appeared. Looking over, the octopus-like fierce demon appeared not far away and was closing in. Immediately, the air here trembled violently, and the space in all directions rumbled. Come over! Let's go in! He called out to Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun. Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun quickly nodded. At this moment, the powerful fierce demon was closing in. They did not have time to hesitate, and quickly moved to Lin Tian's side. Lin Tian held the green jade and circulated the Sun Heart Sutra. The light emitted from the green jade enveloped himself, Wishing Crocodile, and Ling Yun. Then, he took a step forward and led Wishing and Ling Yun through the Tao pattern light screen and to the other side. Almost at the same time, the octopus-like fierce demon pounced forward, its dozens of tentacles directly whipping the Tao pattern light screen outside the Bronze Palace. Bang! A booming sound rang out as the ferocious yell was sent flying. It tumbled for a distance of several hundred zhang before smashing into the ground, leaving a series of cracks in its wake. Even a quasi-emperor level monster was sent flying. This Tao pattern is really terrifyingly sturdy. Ling Yun sucked in a breath of cold air as he looked at Lin Tian. He felt that Lin Tian was extremely wise not to throw away the green jade fragment because of this monster. A few hundred feet away, the fierce demon rushed forward. Its eyes were blood-red and filled with a ferocious evil spirit. It emitted a dense blood-red mist and charged toward them again. This time, the mighty force it emitted was undoubtedly many times stronger than before, and it was terrifyingly strong. However, the outcome didn't change at all. When it approached the screen of light, it was blasted flying again, and it fell over 3 kilometers away, causing streams of blood to splatter all over the place. For this Tao pattern, the more forceful it is, the more terrifying the recoil will be. Without any special means, one can only break it with brute force. Only an emperor-level cultivator can do it, Wishing Crocodile said. Then, he stared at the fierce demon. Oh, speaking of which, this monster seems to only have killing intent and evil spirit. Its self-awareness seems to be 0. Roar! The fierce demon roared and pounced again. Dozens of tentacles moved together and whipped the Tao pattern light screen. Then, it was sent flying again. In an instant, blood splattered from its body. Lin Tian glanced at the ferocious demon. Even though his eyes were filled with murderous intent, he didn't care. He didn't even bother to think about it, because it was meaningless to think about it. Let's go. He called out to Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun. He pushed open the bronze palace's door and took the lead, stepping into the palace. Little perverted thief, let's go! Wishing Crocodile said and flapped its wings to follow. Ling Yun naturally did not fall behind and also stepped into the palace. As they truly walked into the bronze palace, the two of them instantly felt a terrifying chill. It was as if the cold air had entered their bones. Their 5 viscera and 6 bowels trembled as goosebumps appeared on their skin. Be careful! Lin Tian Andao. From the various signs, it was very likely that an emperor-level expert was buried in this bronze palace. Moreover, it had been there for a very long time. After such a long period of time, who knew how many terrifying evil beings had been born in this palace? Even if there were half-step emperor-rank ghosts, it would be very normal. Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun nodded. Naturally, they knew what Lin Tian meant. Their expressions became cautious. This palace was very dark. There was almost no light. There was only one path that led into the depths of the palace. As the two of them and the crocodile walked, Lin Tian and Ling Yun's footsteps echoed from time to time. So! In front of them, a bloody light pounced. It was a 3-meter-tall humanoid creature. It had red eyes and sharp fangs. It carried the smell of rotting flesh. Its death aura was very terrifying. It would not take much effort to tear apart a normal enlightened realm cultivator. Lin Tian raised his hand and simply slapped. This humanoid creature was immediately smashed into pieces. Black blood splattered all over the ground. Ugh! A ruthless roar echoed. Another evil rushed out. It had the head of a beast and the body of a human. It had more than 10 ghostly eyes. They were all frighteningly red. Ling Yun moved. More than 10 strange swords flew out from behind him. They carried strands of Tao energy and landed on the evil's body. With a puff, this evil that was comparable to an elite enlightened realm cultivator exploded on the spot. In any case, Master Ling has reached a half-step to Nirvana realm. How dare an ordinary enlightened realm ghost rush over like this? He clicked his tongue. Lin Tian glanced at him and continued to walk into the depths of the palace. The yin qi in the palace was very strong. The yin qi was much thicker than outside. The two of them and the crocodile each held up a divine light screen and a demonic light screen to protect themselves. Their steps were slow and steady. It did not take long for them to walk more than 1,000 feet out of the palace. Roar! An ear-piercing roar rang out. A few powerful evil spirits rushed out. Their flesh and blood were rotting, giving people a very frightening feeling. Lin Tian waved his hand. Dozens of swords slashed out. They sank into the chests of the evil spirits. In the blink of an eye, they were all killed. Boom! The pitch-black yin qi of death surged out from the depths of the palace. It was like a flash flood of yin qi. Among them were pairs of blood-red eyes. More evil spirits appeared. Some were in human form, some were in beast form. Without exception, their flesh and blood were rotting. The yin qi of death was so thick that it was frightening. Among them, there were many ghost saints that were comparable to the early stage of Nirvana realm. There are 7 ghost saints! Ling Yun's eyes widened. For him now, the ghost saints were still a huge threat. Lin Tian's expression was calm. His glabella lit up slightly. The yin-yang lotus sea drew out. Pieces of black and white lotus petals floated around him. Then, they whizzed forward. In an instant, the ghostly creatures mixed in with the yin qi of death were sliced into pieces one after another. Speaking of which, should we go to the Tomb Master's room first or dig the divine pulse in the center? The whooshing crocodile's eyes lit up. This place, whether it was the Tomb Master's room or the divine pulse, had an incomparable attraction. Both were priceless. Lin Tian stopped and said, Let's go first, Buzz! In his hand, the green remnant jade emitted an even more dazzling light and scorching heat. Rays of light spread out from his palm like water ripples and pointed to the front of the palace. Lin Tianwei's expression changed slightly. Looking forward, there was a ray of light in her eyes. It seems like we can only go to the Tomb Master's room first. Originally, he wanted to find the divine pulse first before going to the Tomb Master's room. After all, after finding the divine pulse, the little one could be born. Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun could enter the Nirvana realm. Their group's strength would increase greatly. At that time, it would be much safer to go to the Tomb Master's room and enter it. However, at this time, he had to change his mind. Because, following the ripples of light from the remnant jade, he found the location of the Tomb Master's room. It was exactly the same as the location of the divine pulse that he sensed. It was right above the divine pulse. If he wanted to dig out the divine pulse, he had to enter the Tomb Master's room first. He had to enter the Tomb Master's room from the center of the Tomb Master's room into the divine pulse. He briefly explained this matter to the 5 elements Crocodile and Ling Yun, causing the man and Crocodile to be involuntarily shocked. Then we have no choice but to go to the Tomb Master's room first, Ling Yun said. His eyes were intertwined with rays of light. Rubbing his hands back and forth, he said, "This time, we must get a flawless heavenly treasure." Little pervert, it's better that you don't have such expectations. You have to know that the materials for forging heavenly treasures are very difficult to find. Ordinary emperors do not have precious weapons like heavenly treasures. Whooshing Crocodile glanced at Ling Yun and then looked at Lin Tian. Young man, this remnant jade can break the Tao pattern here and let you sense the Tomb Master's room. Could it be that the Tomb Master was once the owner of this remnant jade? Lin Tianwei frowned slightly. After thinking for a while, she said, "That should be the case. The Tao pattern barrier outside the palace should have been left by the Tomb Master. The fact that the remnant jade could pass through the Tao pattern barrier and was surrounded by Empress Qi was enough to prove that the remnant jade was closely related to the Tomb Master. At this time, the Empress Qi on the remnant jade allowed him to sense the Tomb Master's room. There was no doubt that it once belonged to the Tomb Master. Who cares? Don't think too much. Hurry, let's go to the Tomb Master's room." Ling Yun seemed a little excited. Lin Tian glanced at him. Holding the remnant jade, he walked in front of the palace. "I'll lead the way. Follow me," he said. Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun naturally nodded. They followed behind Lin Tian and walked into the depths of the palace. As the group of people walked into the depths of the palace, the yin qi in the palace became denser and the air became colder. After walking for more than 100 feet, whooshing sounds were heard. With a dim light and a bloody glow, pairs of ghostly eyes lit up. An extremely frightening aura pressed down on them. Damn it, there are ghost saint-level evil creatures again. Ling Yun gritted his teeth. This is the tomb of an emperor expert. It seems to be more than 10,000 years old. It's natural for there to be ghost saint-level evil creatures. It would be strange if there weren't. Whooshing Crocodile said. Whooshing sounds were heard. Yin Qi surged as ghostly creatures rushed over. At the front, there were 9 ghost saint-level existences. Each of them was surrounded by black and red ghost qi. Behind them, there was a group of other evil creatures. It could be said that this was a torrent of death. Even if a 5th sky of Nirvana expert came, he would be torn apart alive. Beside Lin Tian, the dense yin-yang lotus petals swayed and turned into a lotus rain. Whooshing sounds were heard as they slashed forward. Chi! 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 Crisp sounds were heard. One by one, the ghostly creatures were crushed by the yin-yang lotus petals. He walked at the front and used the yin-yang lotus sea, which was specially used to restrain evil creatures, to open a path. After killing one powerful evil creature after another, he finally arrived in front of a sealed stone room after more than an hour. "We're here." Chapter 1104. The door of the stone chamber wasn't big. It was covered in sand and dust, and there were no pictures on it. It looked very plain. "This is the main chamber of the tomb?" Ling Yun's eyes lit up. Lin Tian nodded and opened his right hand. The remnant jade in his palm emitted an even brighter light. It rippled and pointed directly at the stone chamber in front of them. "It's here," he said. Whooshing Crocodile's eyes also lit up at this moment. "Open it! Go in!" The temptation of an emperor's tomb was definitely great. At the same time, there was a flawless holy pulse in the center of the tomb. The attraction was even stronger. Lin Tian raised his hand and placed it on the stone door. He suddenly felt a bone-piercing coldness. It was as if the extreme yin qi had entered his body. It made him feel a little cold. However, he was still able to withstand this level of coldness. He exerted a little force with his right hand on the stone door, and with a squeak, the stone door was pushed open. Suddenly, there was a rumbling sound. Pitch-black yin qi rushed out from behind the stone door like rolling waves. Lin Tianyi had already expected this to happen. Therefore, the moment he opened the stone door, he put up a strong divine power light screen to protect himself, Whooshing Crocodile, and Ling Yun. They were not eroded by the yin qi. True yin qi, it's really, if an ordinary Nirvana realm cultivator were to face it head-on, they would probably melt immediately. Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun were both shocked. Pitch-black yin qi continued to surge out from behind the stone door. It only weakened after dozens of breaths. "Let's go." Lin Tian now. He walked at the front, surrounded by a golden light screen, and entered the stone chamber. Immediately, he trembled slightly. Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun were also shocked. They both felt their hearts palpitate. The group looked up and saw that the space inside the stone chamber was about 100 square meters. Dense yin qi surged in the stone chamber. The surroundings were extremely spacious. At the end of the chamber, a withered figure was sitting cross-legged. It was like an immortal demon mountain. There was a strong emperor's aura and terrifying coldness intertwined around it. Ling Yun was shocked. "This is the tomb owner?" "That's obviously it," Whooshing Crocodile said. There was a strange light in its eyes. Although it had seen more than one emperor, it was the first time it had seen an emperor's corpse. Lin Tian looked at the withered emperor's corpse in front of him. He could clearly feel how terrifying the emperor's aura. Even with his current cultivation, he could feel a chill down his spine. He couldn't help but shudder. "Buzz!" Suddenly, the broken jade in his hand emitted an even more shocking light. It was rich and direct, and the heat it emitted was even more intense. Instantly, Lin Tian felt an intense burning pain in his right hand that was holding the broken jade, and he almost threw it away with a tremble of his hand. At the same time, the withered emperor's corpse at the end of the stone chamber suddenly emitted an aura that was 10 times more terrifying. Gusts of wind swept out, and the yin qi in the stone chamber became even denser. It was so dense that it was somewhat terrifying. Then 2 dim lights flashed. The withered emperor's corpse actually opened its eyes. The rolling yin qi became even denser. "It's alive?" The 5 elements Crocodile and Ling Yun turned pale with fright. Lin Tian's body also shook. At this time, he could clearly feel an extremely strong pressure. His body felt a slight pain. He looked at the withered emperor's corpse and realized that there was no sign of life on it. It was still full of death qi. When it opened its eyes, it seemed to be looking straight at him. Or rather, it was looking at the broken jade in his hand. His gaze shifted and landed on the chest of the withered figure. There was also a broken piece of jade hanging around the withered figure's neck. The gap was exactly the same as the gap on the broken piece of jade in his hand. When the two were combined, they would form a complete piece of jade. His heart jumped. Indeed, the broken jade in his hand was something that the tomb owner once owned. Moreover, it was indeed something that the tomb owner always wore. "Buzz!" The green broken jade in his hand emitted an even more dazzling light. At the same time, at the end of the stone chamber, the withered emperor's corpse opened its eyes. The dim light became even denser. The broken jade on its chest also emitted a shocking light, resonating with the broken jade in his hand. This, Whooshing Crocodile and Ling Yun were shocked. Lin Tian stared at the withered emperor's corpse in the depths of the stone chamber. He paused and asked Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun to wait. Then, he took a deep breath and walked towards the Emperor's corpse at the end of the stone chamber with the broken jade in his hand. At this moment, the withered Emperor's corpse suddenly reacted. Although it was already dead, it still opened its eyes. It was obvious that it was because of the broken jade in his hand. At this time, he subconsciously felt that he should return the broken jade in his hand to the Emperor's corpse. This should allow the Emperor's corpse to calm down. Otherwise, he felt that it might cause the Emperor's corpse to mutate. At that time, it would be really bad. If the Emperor's corpse mutated, it would definitely cause their group to die here. There was no doubt about it. "Kid, what are you doing?" Wishing Crocodile was shocked. At this moment, the Yin-Chi in the stone room became terrifyingly dense, and the source was none other than the Emperor corpse. Not only that, the Emperor corpse opened its eyes, appearing incomparably bizarre. Lin Tian being so close to the Emperor corpse was undoubtedly an extremely dangerous matter. Ling Yun was also moved. He asked Lin Tian to stay away as he was worried that something might happen to Lin Tian. "Don't worry, it's fine," Lin Tian said with his back facing the man and crocodile. In fact, at this time, as he approached the withered Emperor's corpse with the broken jade, the chilling and oppressive feeling disappeared. It was as if the Emperor's corpse knew that he was going to return the broken jade. As such, he walked slowly and soon arrived in front of the withered Emperor's corpse. The Emperor's corpse was sitting cross-legged with its eyes open. Although there was no sign of life, its eyes moved along with Lin Tian's movements, and fell on the broken jade in Lin Tian's hand. Lin Tian took a deep breath again and stared at the broken jade in the Emperor's corpse's chest. He extended the broken jade in his hand and used the gap to close the broken jade in the Emperor's corpse's chest. Suddenly, there was a buzzing sound. The place where the two met emitted a soft sound. In the blink of an eye, they merged into one. In an instant, an even more dazzling light was emitted. It was scorching but gentle. In the blink of an eye, it dispersed all the Yin-Chi in the space. "This is?" Wishing Crocodile and Ling Yun were shocked. The oppressive and cold feeling from before disappeared in an instant. At this time, they felt a trace of warmth. In front of the Emperor's corpse, Lin Tian trembled. At this moment, as the two pieces of broken jade merged, his sea of consciousness trembled slightly. Suddenly, a series of blurry images appeared in his sea of consciousness, causing his eyes to become a little hazy for a moment. He saw a little boy with a piece of green jade hanging on his chest. As he grew into a stalwart man and stepped into the Emperor realm, the green jade never left his body. When his lifespan was about to dry up, he walked into the palace located in the Taichu Immortal Ridge and used it to bury himself. In the next moment, he saw a vicious octopus-like creature rush out from the Taichu Immortal Ridge. Rolling Emperor's aura intertwined, absorbing the life aura of all living beings in all directions. Its ferocious aura was intimidating and terrifying. Then, he saw a man with a withered lifespan walk out of the palace and fight with the octopus-like creature. He pushed it into the ground and cut off its soul through its body. At that time, the green jade was also broken. In the end, he saw the man coughing up blood. After searching for a long time, he couldn't find the broken green jade. In the end, he dragged his extremely weak emperor's body back to the stone chamber. His lifespan was extinguished like a dying flame. Then, the faint light in his eyes trembled, and they became clear again. "He's been wearing it since he was young. Is this green jade a gift from his parents?" he said to himself. When his lifespan was about to dry up, he fought to stop a vicious demon from harming living beings. He cut off the vicious demon's soul, and the green jade was also broken at that time. In the end, because his life aura was about to die, he couldn't find the broken jade because of the various intersecting earth veins in the Taichu Immortal Ridge. When he returned to the stone chamber in the palace, his flame of life was extinguished on the spot. As he muttered to himself, he finally understood why that octopus-like creature would go crazy when it stared at the broken jade in his hand. It turned out that it was also an Emperor realm existence back then. Its soul was cut off by the tomb owner here. Its body was still there, but its spirit was dead. Then, after so many years, under the various evil aura and demonic veins under the Taichu immortal ridge, its undecayed body turned into another kind of evil spirit. Although it didn't have consciousness, deep in its body, it still retained the hatred for the tomb owner who killed it back then. Therefore, it sensed the Emperor's aura on the broken jade in his hand and chased after him relentlessly. So that's how it is, he muttered to himself. At this moment, he could not help but feel a sliver of respect for the owner of this tomb. In a situation where his lifespan was about to dry up, he still stepped forward bravely when he saw a ferocious creature harming life, and killed the Emperor-level ferocious demon. However, his already short lifespan had been drained in the blink of an eye, and he had even lost his precious green jade. His breadth of mind was truly vast. Buzz! Suddenly, the two pieces of green jade that had merged into one shone even brighter. A powerful Emperor's aura surged out and directly wrapped around Lin Tian. Lin Tian's body trembled. The Emperor's aura entered his body, causing his internal organs, meridians, and bones to vibrate. This is... He was slightly shocked. At this time, as the Emperor's aura entered his body, his cultivation suddenly began to rise. The Great Path laws also quickly became stronger, causing the Sun Heart Sutra to involuntarily circulate, emitting an extremely blazing golden divine light. In the blink of an eye, the stone chamber was illuminated with golden light, as if a divine sun had risen here. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.